Welcome to Winton Motor Raceway. It's round 5 of the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series. It's the home, really, where it all started. We've got a nice 3-kilometre track to get around here. Everybody loves coming to Winton. There's so much history here when it comes to the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series as well. J-Mac, the clouds are still in the sky. Yesterday, well, there was some tumultuous weather.
Yeah, it was a tough time to try and go practicing and really gain some data for a lot of our, admittedly, newbies into the TA2 category. We saw newcomer Robbie Farr coming out and getting to grips with tough conditions. So we're hoping that things today will go a little bit more to plan, but it's not all about TA2. We have a massive field today.
It's, of course, we got the Australian Excel Spring Series coming out as well. The Formula RX8's a strong force, over 20 cars in that, and Legend Cars Australia. Well, there's always hundreds of those. We see them go 7 and 8 wide. It's only a skinny little track going into turn number 1, but they're going to bunch up. But we do have the TA2 muscle cars to come out as well, and a strong 20-car field here this weekend.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing them. Maybe giving that lap record from 2023 a nudge. A 1 minute 24 from Brett Holdsworth in the Camaro. Let's see how close we go. We got some fast movers. The Man of Steel, one to watch out for, especially at last round.
Yeah, he was super strong, wasn't he, at the bend? That was an endurance round, I suppose, that some of the drivers want to forget, but for others, it really pushed them forward when it came to the championship. Josh Haynes, the Man of Steel, currently leading that. Graham Cheney in second. Third, Brad Gartner, but it wasn't a fantastic round, so he's got a lot of catching up to do in that sense. Let's have a look at some of the highlights, though, from round number 4 at the Bend Motorsport Park.
Shell V-Power Motorsport Park at round 4 of the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series here in South Australia.
Well, there's 20 grand up for grabs for this weekend, but they're going to just get started. It's going to be Jared Hughes. Oh, does Brooke go around the outside? Hazelwood puts his nose in as well.
He's on a similar lap pace. He's actually faster than Brooke. He's gone 56.56.
A little bit of a lock up there in the front right.
There was a little lock up, wasn't it?
Come around the final corner, and the checkered flag is out, and Jared Hughes will take race number 2 here in the TFH Hire. TA2 muscle car frame by Hi-Tec Steel Framing, and we will get the pedal to the metal. It's time to hear the V8 rumble here. The outside, have a look at him. Zach Bates. Wow, they have filled it. Zach Bates going for an excursion in the 51. Oh no, the 22. That was the Hi-Tec Oils car. It's a big pile.
Unfolded, absolutely unfolded. Hollinger's in there, Domain Ramsey.
Nick Bates, it'll be Nick Bates.
Those in behind just had nowhere to go and plowed into Gartner. That just erupted. We go back green here at Shell V-Power Motorsport Park at the Bend. Little bit of side-by-side. Oh, Cox, big four-wheel drift. And they're all on pit lane except Hayden. Barber got a run down the inside of Cox. And Hayden may go with it.
Oh, look at Hayden taking full advantage here.
The gap's down to 0.8. Haynes takes the victory, but what a nail-biter. And we're about to get energetic here at the Bend with the race start for race number 5. Lights are out. Let's go racing. Hayden to the inside of team into 13. Joshka struggled to get it stopped and get a turn through the centre, and it allowed Gardner to pull back up alongside. This is championships contending stuff. Haynes down the inside, back into the lead. And Hayden
with Excel, you can use it as a
Haynes will get the victory here. This is the most important thing for him for the championship equation.
It's about this 125 lap, 120 kilometres to get through in these cars. The 2 young guns, the quick time, Tommy Heyman, Josh Haynes, the Man of Steel, and the 37 Herzog Mustang on the outside. But we get on board here with Tim Brooke, though, in the Hi-Tec Oil 22, and already a bit of a bump and shove in turn number 1. There's a heap of them off already. Oh, Hayden Jackson as well.
We are on safety car.
The McLaren power plant fires up, and they head down the main straight here. Why sliding it and stopping? Oh, no! Contacts. Let's hope no one else gets involved in this one. Crutches turn. Oh, Ramsey. Big lock up on the back brake. And no, just hold your breath with this one. He's not going to catch him as long as Heyman can hold on to this. Big round of applause to Tommy. Quick time. Heyman there gets himself a race win in the endurance. Jared Hughes and Tyler Cheney. I tell you what, $20,000 looks like it's coming their way. All thanks to TFH Hire and Hi-Tec Steel Framing.
Well, I tell you what, looking back at that last round, I'm super excited to be here for round 5 of the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series from Winton Motor Raceway. We're just a couple of hours north of Melbourne, and have a look at the shots. It is absolutely beautiful this time of year. Of course, the weather starting to get a little bit warmer. All that green grass is out, and have a look. A nice clean start to the weekend. Not too much dirt on that track to start things off, is there, Jamie? But we know what these guys like to do once we get into race mode. They like to push around a little bit. They're big, wide cars, and not all these corners are really wide.
No, and the main difference here at the moment, not so much dirt and material on the track yesterday, it was water. I think the weather changed at least 8 times, which is a predominantly Victorian thing, and me coming from NZ, it's very, very similar to Auckland. Hang around for 10 minutes and it's guaranteed to change. A little bit of a breeze out there, a little bit of cloud cover right now. There was potentially in the forecast a little bit of scattered showers maybe later on in the afternoon, but certainly yesterday very, very changeable conditions. I don't know that too many of the drivers, especially some of those debuting or racing here for the first time with the TA2 Muscle Car Series frame by Hi-Tec steel framing, that they learnt too much yesterday in the changing conditions. No,
I think you're right. And the challenge today is going to be staying on the track, because although we're not seeing that coming from the clouds today, that stuff falling, the ground's still damp. So once they go off, they're going to find mud. It's going to be a lot harder to rejoin. But it's qualifying session about to get underway here for the TFH Hire TA2 muscle cars framed by Hi-Tec steel framing. And no surprise, the number 37 is super eager to get out there. Now have a look at some of these cars down there. Big inclusion into the TA2 muscle car starting from this round is Robbie Farr there in the number 7 on the right-hand side of the screen. And, you know, if you're a Speedway fan, I mean, that's a huge name to have here, isn't it?
I'm going a little bit fanboy, but look, Robbie Farr, undoubtedly one of the best Australia has ever seen in sprint car racing. He's won an Australian sprint car title. Pretty sure he won a Grand Annual Classic and a midget title speed cars here in Australia. One of only, I think, a couple of guys that have ever done that. Now, without putting too much pressure on Robbie, great to have him here, but look, he's really, literally finding his feet because he's done little or no circuit racing previously. One of the best in a 410 sprint car, and I challenge half of this field that haven't driven a sprint car to get in and go as fast as Robbie Farr has been in a 410 wing sprint car. So no, really cool to have him here, and a continued investment in the category by the team from Hi-Tec Oils.
And look who he's got up against him. You know, people he's seen out on the racetrack before. Jason Pride's in there.
He's raced for Jason Pride. He's actually raced one of Jason's sprint cars.
Domain Ramsey, Danny Reidy. They're all guys coming from the dirt track to come and really wrestle these muscle cars as well, and they're loving it. Like, you go down and talk to them in the pits, and they're really enjoying their time here in the TA2 Muscle Car Series as well. I mean, we're going to expect probably from yesterday's practice, although it was wet weather, Josh Haynes and Brad Gardner have been very quick. Gardner ran the fastest sector times across, but he didn't put it all together in one lap. So Josh Haynes has been the man to really, you know, accumulate those times and make it the fastest overall lap.
They had a little bit of dry time at the beginning of practice 3, so that's where the fast times were. There was only, I think, 0.12 of a second between Haynes and Gardner. So very, very small gaps. You know, this isn't the biggest of the racetracks in Australia. It's 3 kilometres. It used to be a lot smaller. One of the cool things on one of the quotes I read, like again, coming back from NZ, we always used to say with our smaller tracks, it's like flying an F-16 in a gymnasium. A famous quote from Dick Johnson once described the circuit like running a marathon around your clothesline. Now, that was before they did the track extension in 1997. All right, this place has been around since 61, so it was a lot smaller before they did the extension from the run 10, 11, 12 and back in front of the new pit area here. So I'd say Dick's reference to running a marathon around your clothesline would be pre the extension. But look, it's fast, it's technical, there are a lot more passing opportunities than you would think as we are going green here in qualifying. Now, Matt, the important thing is here with the qualifying session on these Hoosier tyres, a little bit of temperature in the track, which we didn't have yesterday. I reckon there's a 3-lap window to get it done. Now, not 100% sure who's gone out on scrub or older tyres just to get some heat in the car and get it running, get the thing back into the pits and maybe put new tyres on it, or they've just gone out and hit it hard and gone straight to green straight off the bat.
Well, remembering for those faster guys out there who can put it together on a used set of tyres, we've still got the top 10 shootout to come your way after lunchtime. So it's just about getting in that top 10 at the moment. Yep. I mean, you talk about the Hoosiers, they've had 1 lap to heat them up. They only get 4 brand new Hoosiers coming into this round. So they've got to go off a couple of used tyres as well from previous races. So that's exactly right. What are we going to see him come out?
You've still got that 3-lap window to get the job done. If you come onto pit lane and have to do a tyre bleed, you've taken the best out of that brand new tyre. This is Aaron Prosser. His second race meeting in TA2 was really impressive in South Australia at the previous round on debut. Expat Kiwi, he's raced Speedway, he's won a national championship. Engineering team this weekend. Chris has obviously raced Superkarts, BAU champion. So Chris, based in Victoria, does a lot of driver training, and he's helping out Aaron Prosser this weekend. Not a bad guy to have on your side.
Look, I think there's probably going to be a few names potentially we'll see as the first real fast lap set by Josh Haynes there. It's a 125.15. Now, I think there's still a little bit more in that car. Gartner right behind him with a 125.54. Now, he's got Tim Brook in his back pocket. In the background is the engineering side setting the car up now. Just have a look. Brett Gartner looks like he has pulled out of this current running lap as well, and he's just let a car go by. So there'll be a few things going on. Aaron Prosser, like you say, got to put a few things together. Bailey now in the Jack Tyres and Auto Chevrolet Camaro.
That's at turn 5. That's at turn 5.
Now you've got to be careful down in the back section there, the M's. There's a couple of names for that section of the track.
Where he is awkward because it's actually back down a slight incline, and as much rain as we had yesterday and even a thunderstorm here last night, getting off on the grass is probably not a good deal, and he doesn't look like he's actually making any progress. No, I've just seen him off camera. He is back on track, so that'll continue on.
I'll tell you what, Mark Crutcher in the Crutcher Developments number 4, he was actually pretty quick in some of the practice sessions yesterday, and we've seen him in the top 10 shootouts as this season has gone on too. Oh, he's back on track too. Mark Bay looks like he's got the number 12 Jack's tyres entry back on the track, which is a good sign. We were concerned about how wet that ground might be just off the racing circuit.
I think he was more or less looking for a gap. So just looking at the air temperature, it's definitely warmer than yesterday, but it's still only 16 degrees, so it's actually not that warm out with a little bit of cloud cover. It's warmer, but it's probably not ideal conditions for tyre temp, so that window might extend slightly as Haynes has just gone 24.9, 24.94. At the moment, he's got nearly 6/10 on Brad Gartner. At the end of P3, it was only 1200s.
Gartner's in the pits too, so that's interesting. Let's check out a replay though of what happened here, and is that
it's one of the IES
one of the Paul
cars.
Hadley? Is that Graham Cheney actually in the number 50? Look how much it's sliding. You see a little bit of mud come up, so it is greasy once you drop that's Paul Hadley, sorry, in the 50.
Hadley. All right, so now this is where, so this is just a tyre bleed by the looks of it for Brad Gartner, which says to me, with 13 minutes left to go in the session, that they've probably gone out on a new tyre.
Well, the other thing too is he's just got to make it into the top 10. He knows he can potentially put a lap together here that's, would have been.
So he's got 3/10 on Crutcher, so most of the guys have completed 2 to 3 laps now. So as I said, that window might slightly extend. So Gartner, with it being a little bit cooler, might have an opportunity to go out and see if he can, but he doesn't need to be silly. He's got a time banked at the moment that has him comfortably in the 10.
Josh Hayden as well into the pits. So I think they probably think they've got a number that's going to keep him in the top 10, I would say. There's
Josh
no
Thomas
putting tyre wear on there.
Josh Thomas has just gone P3 in the TFA tyre 169 or 125.82. So he's got 300s on Crutcher. Graham Cheney in 5th. Mark Bailey in 6th. Prosser 7th. Aaron Prosser in 7th at the moment from John Hollinger, Hayden Jackson and Jason Pride. Robbie Farr is 11th.
Wow. We were talking to him earlier. He said, wouldn't it be amazing to be in the top 10? He said, well, you know what, I'm just happy to get around the track this morning because we haven't had a lot of track time this weekend with the rain. But he goes, would be pretty amazing, though, to go to the top 10 wouldn't it, your first time out. But he's a 127.28, so he's definitely improving already, and we've only seen him do a number of laps out here in the TOT Muscar. Demain Ramsey in the 71. Well, the whole family's really getting into circuit racing over there. The kids are getting into some go-karting as well.
Yeah, Demain's really enjoying that. I talked to him at the Bend, and he was actually really, really excited about it. Being able to spend some time with his kids and actually get them racing, because Up until then, it's sort of all been about domain with sprint cars and midgets. He's raced in the US, late models, and now the TA2. And he's really enjoying himself, but certainly, again, the sprint car guys are a little bit out of their depth. And as I said before, Matt, I challenge anybody else that hasn't driven a sprint car in this field to go head-to-head with some of these drivers that have been very, very good at what they do in Wing 410s.
Yeah, of course, the number 63 there of Des Collier getting around. Now, he's a little bit further down the field than we'd expect.
14th.
Not quite in the top 10, so the TFH High boys got a little bit of work to do there. Josh Thomas, well, he's double duties this weekend as well, racing in the Formula RX8, so he's getting a fair bit of wheel time, but it's going to be a big difference dropping out of that car and getting straight into the TA2 muscle car, because there's a couple of moments throughout this weekend where he's going to get out of one and basically go back to back into another category.
All right, so Haynes is on pit lane. He's parked on a 1:24.946. Gardner's still on pit lane. Josh Thomas is in pit lane. Crutch is in pit lane. So
Gardner's
there's your top five.
He's
there's
just
your top five.
gone in again. So are they just scrubbing some tyres, possibly, like getting prepared?
They could very well
for
too.
the top 10 shootout.
Some of the drivers prefer a green tyre, some of them prefer a scrub. So I know yesterday some of the teams took the opportunity to scrub a new set of wets just in case if it did rain over the balance of the weekend. At the end of the day, we are in Victoria, anything can happen. As the cloud cover is actually continuing to build here over us right now. So Stephen Wilson. Was replaced, I think, for Sunday and got them through the rest of the weekend. So his first season in TA2, like so many of the drivers. There's Haynes, he's parked looking comfortable.
I think they're parked. I think they're waiting for top 10 shootout.
Look, he's done what he needs to do.
He's the only one in the 124s.
He's done what he needs to do. So
it's a 20-minute qualifying session. We've still got just under 10 minutes remaining, but if you have a look at probably what's been going on so far this morning, how much of a risk is he really of dropping out of that 10?
If you haven't done your time by now and you're on a new tyre, I think you're past that window. If you have gone out on an older set just to get some temperature in the car, get the brakes up to temperature, have a bit of a sighter and just see how the track is for you, then maybe come in and put a new set of tyres on it. There might be a couple that have done that. So I wouldn't expect certainly the top 5 to have too many issues at the moment. And of those in the top 10, only Hayden Jackson doesn't seem to be in the pits right now. So Hayden's up inside the top 9, still Pride and Far in 10th and 11th. And Far on debut is only 0.07 of a second behind Jason Pride, who started with this season as well.
Yeah, they've got a lot going on as we check down in the pits.
So Bailey's going to go back.
He's going to go out and have another go at number 12. There'll be a few, I think.
He's 6, so maybe he thinks he's just a little bit vulnerable.
8.5 minutes left. There's still time to go in. Maybe make a couple of changes to the car. Steve Coulter stepping in for Michael this weekend. Unfortunately, Mike couldn't be here for family reasons. But Dad stepped back into the car. He's
got a smile on his face. Steve's always got a smile on his face. He doesn't
do a lot of seat time anymore. So Steve said, you know what, I'm just going to get the Terps Tippers car around the track this weekend. The aim is to bring it home with no damage on it. That is the aim of this weekend. But great to see Steve joining us back in the series. Brett Nile out of Western Australia as well. He's done a fair bit of overseas racing. Lots to go and do the endurances. Showed up at the bend as well with his teammate. Didn't all go to plan. They went through quite a few front ends there, mainly going off and ripping them off. A little bit of contact.
They weren't alone. But yeah, beautifully presented car.
He has moments of brilliance though. Like he is a former WA TO2 champion as well. He could pull one together here. So he's probably probably someone you're not expecting when it comes to this weekend, but he potentially could put himself in that top 10.
So there's no green sectors for personals on the screens at the moment. So the majority of the field, Bailey's just gone back out. Hayden Jackson's still on track. So Hayden's in the 10, but he's 9th. So he's sort of near that bubble. He's got about half a tenth on Jason Pride. Pride's on pit lane. So what I would like to know is we actually Cam Sendall out there on racetrack. So this is the research and development car for TA2. Cam's out there. He's the technical director for TA2 Australia, and they're actually trying some new things with this race car, looking at going forward to continue to contain costs amongst other things with some different parts of the drivetrain in these cars. So Cam will be starting at the rear of the field all weekend. He doesn't want to get involved in anyone's sort of championship deal.
Yeah, well, he's got plenty of work and plenty of experience behind the wheel, but let's head down to pit lane. have a lot to say, didn't he, Jared?
That's the quietest I've heard him.
He's doing a great mime impression, isn't he? We'll get back down to Jay, back down to the pit shortly. But yeah, look, Cam Sendall, a lot of experience behind the wheel.
Yeah,
and look, he is just here for the doing some testing this weekend. But
when the cars
I tell you what, you never know. If the weather changes this afternoon, which predictions show it possibly could, he could end up halfway through the field.
So Cam raced when the cars debuted here in Australia. So it's quite a credentialed racer. Hayden Jackson
due for some good luck this weekend, surely. I mean, it has been a tumultuous year for him. We've had exhaust falling off that you never see fall off. Last round of the bend, unfortunately, come over a crest to a group of cars, had nowhere to go. He is due for a win.
Now, definitely has a brand new front end on that race car. I was talking to Dana Bullock from T82. He looks after all their parts and drives the transporter, and Dana was telling me that car's actually got a brand new front splitter on it with a deeper splitter in the front, so it's actually exactly the same as the Camaros and the Mustangs, because previously they have been different. Now, the way that they've been able to control that, they're actually getting those front splitters and front bars made here in Australia now, amongst a whole heap of other parts for these cars that are now made in Australia. So there's a little aero game there for Hayden. I don't know that they'll see such an advantage here at a smaller track, but certainly Hayden is in the 10 at the moment, so that's stage 1 ticked off with 5 minutes left to go in the session. Still no one really going green with sectors.
The number 7 is back out there now. Would it be an amazing weekend if Robbie Farr could stick this into a top 10 shootout his first time? Like, there's no pressure. We don't expect much coming out of this weekend, but I mean, it would be absolutely amazing. Who else is amazing? Well, Jay back down on pits.
Well, it looks like Josh Haynes is happy with his time in the Herzog Steel Mustang here in this final qualifier. I did have a chat, if we have a quick look up the pit lane, the number 22 of Brad Gardner having some tyres changed, so quick scrub in the first session there. They are going to send Brad Gardner out by the looks of things in the dying moments of this qualifier to try and reinforce their position for that top 10 shootout.
Oh, he had a lot more to say that time, didn't he, Jared? How was that? We suspected that Josh Haynes was happy. He doesn't need to do tyres. He doesn't need to wear anything out in the car, put anything at risk. You know, he's been a bridesmaid twice when it comes to the championship in the last 2 seasons. And this year, he's currently leading by 54 points at the moment over Graham Cheney. So he's got a little bit of a buffer. He needs to really be conservative and focus on that championship now.
Cheney's just gone P2. So Cheney's 25.44. He's a 10th quicker than Gardner, so Gardner's actually dropped back to 3rd. Look, solidly in the 10 as we look here at Western Australian Jason Pride, another expat Kiwi. He's based over there in WA. And look, one of the cool things, and on board with Robbie Farr, one of the cool things about Jason Pride in January, he has got one Kyle Larson. Have you heard about Kyle Larson?
He's isn't he?
Goes okay.
I've heard he's an American that might have won a few things.
Yeah, he's driving for Jason in Western Australia in the new year with the High Limit Sprint Car Series coming in from the US.
You know these guys, I'll give you a little tip into Robbie Farr. He actually shared a podium with Brett Nile a couple of weeks ago at Jason Pride's house in a little backyard go-kart action. So the boys still get around and have a bit of fun together, don't they? Oh, right. Number 7, he's up on our screen.
He's gone personal best to the first sector, and that lap was a 27.2.
He just gets over the ripple strip now. It's really risky coming out there into turn 2. We've seen a number of cars this weekend, and last time we were here at the start of last season, grab those tyre barriers. Now you can get sucked in those really easy. Gets the car turned in.
I wonder if Robbie's gone to a fresh tyre, because so he PB'd the first sector on that lap, which was a 27.6. He's PB'd again to the first sector. He only needs to find 700th to knock Jason Pride out of the 10. On board with Robbie Farr.
Wouldn't that be a bit of banter down there with him and Jason Pride? That'd be great tonight over the barbecue. I can tell you.
The coolest thing is that Robbie's driven one of Jason's sprint cars. He's raced over in WA with Jason Pride. So, you know, they know each other very, very well. And they were racing in Jason's backyard last weekend.
Yeah, well, yes, recently, yes.
Waiting for the second sector. Oh, Pridey's just gone PB in his first sector, so I wonder if Jason's done the same thing.
Robbie Farr's coming around, though. 2 more corners to get around. It's 11 and 12, and how's he looking?
Doesn't PB the second sector, so at the moment, that's where he's a little bit down on tyres. Gardner is warming up some tyres, so Gardner's going to go out and have a run.
Well, he's coming in. Is he scrubbing tyres?
He might be just doing a scrub.
They did say they were going to send him out again, but they didn't say it was for qualifying runs. He might just be prepping himself.
Yeah, okay.
Now, just having a look at Robbie Farr to see if we get a time in that last lap. He's not quite got there.
No, so he's made a little mistake, I think, in the last third. So that lap was actually a 28.0. So, yeah.
We'll wait to see if this is going to be a fly for him. Robbie might be just cooling the car down on this one, but Brett Gardner back to the pits. So we'll wait and see how that goes. Domain Rams are getting a heap of laps in here, and with limited amount of track time at the moment, I mean, it probably is a good opportunity for those that aren't in the top 10 to get out there. Now, Danny Reidy, this is a bit of a story. This coming into this weekend, his actual transporter broke down leaving the bend last time, had to leave it at Bordertown to get fixed. He literally picked it up chance to test. So he's had a huge week, and he just needs to make it through this weekend.
So Pride and Farr have now gone 11 and 12 because Des Collier has jumped up into 9th with a late run. So Collier on lap 9. So I think he would be one of those drivers that maybe's put a new tyre set on after getting some heat into the car on an older tyre set. So he's actually jumped Hayden Jackson as well. So Jackson's on the bubble. Pride and Farr and Niall outside 11th, 12th and 13th. So Gardner, we just saw, he definitely was just scrubbing a tyre set. When you're weaving on pit lane, yeah, that tells me he's just running in a set, taking the top off the
That's a huge margin, isn't it?
Over 3 kilometres. That's a pretty big gap.
Yeah, look, I'm not so worried about Brett Gardner. I think they're keeping their cards close to their chest, really. They are not going out there and putting any hot laps together at the moment. I think they are quite content to bring that into the top 10 a little bit later. Brett Niall there in the number 54 out of Western Australia.
Oh, Pride goes 10th. I just looked at the green sectors and he's PB'd the first one and went 26.99. And Hayden Jackson is back in 11th and on pit lane, and that is qualifying done. The checkered flag should be out on the racetrack. So that was a last gasp effort from Jason Pride to get into the top 10.
What a lap to put together. Des Collier gets himself in the top 10 shootout. John Hollinger as well. Now, I've seen him quick over the weekend. Prosser, he's had some really fast laps, I think, in the short time we've seen him here in the TAT muscle car. So I'm not surprised to see him with a chance top 10. Mark Bailey and then Mark Crutcher holds on to that position. Now, we didn't see him go out and do too many more laps either. Josh Thomas is super quick in the TFH hire car. Brett Gardner getting ready, I think, for the top 10. Graham Cheney gets himself into second, and Josh Haynes, well, the man is still no surprise. They pulled that car up halfway through the qualifying session and said 1:24.94. Well, that's enough to put us in the 10, and we are going to rest.
So just looking at it, so Haynes set his fastest lap on lap 3, pitted. Gardner on only his second lap. Josh Thomas on lap 4 set his fastest, then pitted, and Crutcher likewise, he went 3 laps and then pitted.
Well, here we go. This is your provisional results at the moment. Josh Haynes, number 1. Graham Cheney, second. Brett Gardner, third. Then it goes Josh Thomas, Mark Crutcher, Mark Bailey, Aaron Prosser, John Hollinger, Des Collier, and Jason Pride. They'll be making an appearance in the top 10 shootout. And then it's going to be down to Hayden Jackson out of 11, starting for race 1, followed by Robbie Farr, Brett Niall, Paul Hadley, Danny Reidy, and we see them further down the field. I mean, the TA2 muscle cars always putting on a show, and the top 10 shootout coming your way after lunch. But in the meantime, let's head down to Jared in the pits.
Down here with top qualifier Josh Haynes in the Herzog Steel Mustang, banking a hot lap early in the stint and then a fairly relaxed session in the garage for the remainder of the 15 minutes. Tell me, how happy are you?
Yeah, look, really happy. It's a good start to the weekend. Obviously, we got the top 10 shootout later on today, so look, we wanted to get out there, make sure we get in the 10, make sure the car's running all nice and sweet, and then, yeah, hopefully come out in the shootout flying.
How strict are the team managing your tyre bank this weekend?
Yeah, really strict. Look, it's all a tyre game, you know, that's what it's been all year. So, yeah, we've got to play it smart, and we want to have good tyres for the last race on Sunday. So, yeah, the Herzog Steel Mustang's quick, and the whole team at Hi-Tec has done an awesome job. So, yeah, looking forward to a good weekend.
Best of luck for the top 10 shootout.
Thanks very much. Bring it on.
Oh, he's looking calm after having 10 minutes out of the car there. Josh Haynes, we'll wait and see how that top 10 shootout goes. But Mel, you're also down the pits.
Yes, Graham Cheney, P2 today. Can you give him a run for his money? Yeah, I'm definitely going to try this weekend. Quali didn't quite go to plan. We fell asleep to get out there, and we got held up a little bit on the warm-up laps, but we ended up getting up there enough to get in the top 10, so happy with that.
Oh, well, let's hope that you can make number one stick this weekend.
Yeah, I definitely want one of those number one stickers just so I can give it to my son, because he got one the other weekend down at the Bend. So
He did, didn't he?
He did, showed me up. So yeah, I've got to get one now to put on the trailer.
Yeah, good idea. Thanks.
Cheers.
They had a great battle, didn't they? Tyler Cheney coming in with Jared Hughes, and there was a little bit of action going on at the Bend between father and son.
There was one of the starts or the restarts where Tyler's actually given Dad a bit of a don't argue and rolled him up sort of towards the outside of the track. And I said, Graham, after the race, I said, mate, you need to watch that race, because the young fella's given you a little bit of a move over. And I spoke to him yesterday and he saw it and he had a big chuckle about it. Back down to pit lane with Jared.
Brad Gardner running in that qualifying session, an early stint, a brief pause, and then a final couple of laps. Tell me, what was the plans there for that qualifier?
We just don't want to, obviously, making the 10s. Just I think there's only a bit over 15 cars on the grid, so literally just making the 10s the goal, and then just want to run out and do a bit of a systems check there at the end, check there's no problems, and roll into the shootout comfortable.
Any particular strategies for the shootout, or is it let the red mist descend and go hell for leather?
Yeah, it's just one of those things. You obviously want to be on pole. The boys have been wanting to eat Wagyu all week, so try and put it on pole. And yeah, thanks to those guys, Adam, Tim, and Rob. We've got a great team at the moment, so we can put it on pole. But we also just want to have a clean car for race one this afternoon.
I love it. The boys want to eat Wagyu. How good is that? Brad Gardner locking in third in qualifying. Thanks, mate.
Cool. Thanks, guys. Cheers.
What I want to know is, they're going to be farm fresh Wagyu. Has he bought it straight off the farm?
I know, porterhouse at the Northo last night. That wasn't bad.
Oh, we might see the boys out tonight. You never know with Brad Gardner. Of course, they've still got a race to contend with a bit later on this afternoon, which is the one that we're looking out for at the moment, with the weather unpredictable, I suppose, as we head into the afternoon. Have a look at the cars spaced out down there. The TA2 muscle cars, framed by Hi-Tec, steel framing. They'll get pushed back into the garage. Preparation will be underway for those top 10 guys. Josh Haynes, well, he looks pretty cheery at the moment. He's the only one with a 124. But Brad Gardner probably, nudged him a little bit yesterday with some purple sector times. So
I don't think Brad showed everything he had in that run. He didn't need to. We know he's fast. As I said, yesterday afternoon, at the end of P3, and again, changeable conditions, and it started raining right at the end of that session. There was only 1200s between them. So we know Brad's got something to take to Josh Haynes. And Josh just needs to, every time I walk past him, all I say is 3 words: points, points, points.
Well, there's another Josh on the field pretty quick too, the TFH hired Josh Thomas, potentially.
He's probably more race fit than anyone else at the moment, because he and Diesel actually went up to the UK and raced in something called the UK Fun Cup, which is a space frame Volkswagen Beetle and type car, and they're entered for a 25-hour race at Spa later on in the year.
Someone who's not, I suppose, is very familiar with doing some of that sort of racing overseas is Brett Nile. We caught up with him earlier.
Here with Brett Nile, with a background in endurance racing, switching the European racing calendar to come over and race TA2s. I mean, that's, shall we say, in the past. TA2 is where we've seen you for this round and Tailem Bend. You raced 2 rounds last season. Tell me, what is it about these big, brutish V8s that you really love?
Yeah, firstly, these cars, I really, really enjoy racing the TA2. The movement on the tyre, the way you can throw the car around. And like I said, I had to have an endurance background. That was some time ago. But yeah, I have to switch it up, I guess, to get the car for that 1 lap pace. So I just have to work on that.
Taking some breaks away from TA2 racing for a while, tell me, is it like a brave new world, coming back in, slotting into the cockpit and trying to put together a whole weekend's campaign?
We've teamed up with Tech, so I guess the car's always ready to go. That's always a good start. We can just arrive with your helmet and jump in. But yeah, I think, my goal is really just to have fun. So and I'm comfortable in any. Yeah, 2020 I did it was actually my first TA2 race, came over. I think the competition was a lot different then. It was probably top. I think I was top 5. Realistically, I'd like to be in the top 10 this weekend. So see how I go.
Talking about that competition, the guys that are up at the pointy end, they are incredibly well versed. Of course, one of the Hi-Tec ponies in the stable, the Herzog Steel Mustang, that thing is an absolute dynamite machine, isn't it?
Yeah, it's I think a good advantage being able to see Josh's data and Josh's video, which definitely helps. He's super quick, and so are a couple of the other guys up there at the front.
Well, we're looking forward to your weekend, mate. Best of luck in the Tribridge Holdings Camaro. Fingers crossed.
Cool, thank you.
Well, we come back to something a little bit different than we haven't seen at the Hi-Tec or Super Series before. Jamie, these things, we've seen smaller capacity engines out there in a few of these cars, but not in this format. What have we got?
All right, so we have got with us this weekend the Victorian Superkart Club, and I think there's about 6 or 7 different categories. Basically, they're split into 250 International, National, 125 International, 125 Stock. And this class, which is the Rotax class, 125cc water-cooled, electric start, centrifugal clutch. And they've got a big entry this weekend of well over 20 in the Rotax category. So it's a round of the Victorian series. And we've also got 3 New Zealanders over for the weekend. It is the second round of the Australian Rotax National Championships here at Winton this weekend. So I bumped into a friend of mine from New Zealand, Ryan Urban, who's over running 3 karts. They've got 3 rentals over here. They bought their own engines over this time, and they're part of the category out there as well. So these Rotaxes have been around for a long time. I've actually got one up at home in Queensland. I've got back into karting recently, so know a little bit about them. They're an awful lot of fun to drive. I've been driving on the dirt on slicks. I haven't done any road racing on a big motor racing circuit, because usually when you see kart sport, it's sprint racing on a purpose-built kart track. And some of those tracks are 1,100-1,200 metres long, but not anything as big as we've got here at Winton. And Winton's one of the smallest circuits. These guys race at the Bend in South Australia. 18 corners. Like on the main straight, you'd have time to sit there and read a book. But in saying that, I'm not belittling them because they're slow. They're fast. These karts will do well in excess of 100 mile an hour in road race trim. They're a little bit different to the sprint karts. They have a longer wheelbase. Some of them are purpose-built chassis. Some of them are modified sprint chassis, where they make them a little bit longer, because what they're trying to do is basically slow everything down from a turning point of view. You don't want them to be too twitchy and too sensitive, because the corners are a lot bigger, the track's a lot wider. It's all about this shot here, and it's the slipstream effect with these road race bodies on the cars.
Well, you can see him duck riding behind. It's a qualifying session. They'll have 15 minutes to lay a time down, and I'm looking at 27 names up on the screen. It is a massive field.
Yeah, we've got something close to 50 karts here this weekend. So the 90 at the front of that's one of the Kiwi visitors. That is Tyler Edney, and Ryan Urban's running Tyler this weekend. So that's a local kart. It's a Scorpion chassis, so that's a purpose-built road racing chassis. You won't see any of those racing at the sprint events around Australia, because they're just too long and too big, and they wouldn't react the same as a sprint-style chassis. There will still be some of the older, not older, but the predominantly sprint-style chassis out there. With some of the chassis brands, you've got OTK, Intrepid, CRG, and Arrow chassis, of course, here in Australia. And then when we sort of get into the 125s and the bigger 250 stuff, that's where we start getting into the European dominance with those sort of chassis manufacturers. It's a different
Well, Russ Occhipatini is in second position at the moment. Quattrocchi in third, Carrera in fourth, and Bell in fifth. Now, let's have a look at some of the times. There's not too much between them. It's only a tenth between 1 and 2. We go back, 6 tenths back to third position as well. So it's really going to come down to that slipstream down those little straights we've got possibly that could make up a tenth here and a tenth there.
Yeah, and the run from 4.5 up to 6.2 over the left-hand side of the circuit off turn 3, there'll be a bit of a draft effect going through there. So for qualifying, I reckon a toe is definitely going to be really, really important. So it is the 90 of Edney that's actually out in front. I'm pretty sure he goes into this weekend second in the points in the Australian Championship, based out of New Zealand. So, yeah, good to see 3 of the Kiwis, and literally walking down the pits yesterday, bumping into a couple of guys I haven't seen for probably 9 or 10 years, just at the same racetrack,
just like
on the other side of the Tasman.
It's where we all come together, all the races, and everyone involved in motorsport. It's a big family. And as you can see, our Superkarts Group 1 out on track for their first qualifying session. We've still got 2 more qualifying sessions coming out a little bit later on. Of course, our Rotex category out on track at the moment. And although we've got 27 of them out there, 28 actually, they have spread themselves out just a little bit on this 3-kilometre track. I mean, Winton, not a massive track. There's a 12 corners to get around. A couple of small straights, really. It's not made up of one long straight like we saw at the bend last time we came out for the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series. It's made up of, we've really got a small straight between 10 and 11, 12 to turn 1, 2 to 3. You come up over a crest, that'll be a bit of a different. But like you say, with these carts turning left, they're not going to have to worry about the power so much as they go through 5 down into 6. They're really going to be able to try and push the limits on the edge of those little tyres. You see him come around to complete just another lap, and you can see some of the drafting already happening in the background.
What impressed me this morning, just watching down by the side of the track, so off the front straight into turn 1, right here, is how much they don't actually slow down. So in a TA2 or a bigger car, you're actually on the brakes probably at about 60 metres on the board. They're not rolling a lot of breakthrough there. They're actually attacking that sequence because they are a lot smaller. So they're not having to get the thing stopped, because these things will stop from 100 kilometres an hour to 0 in about 2.5 seconds. If you can do that without rotating it, you've done a pretty good job. But yeah. Start. Really easy to run. You can change the jetting in them, and that's pretty much about it. And obviously the gearing. Other than that, they're stock standard. You're not allowed to modify them or make them bigger. They're all 125cc Reed valve carburetor, running on pump fuel and 2-stroke.
Pereira has just gone up there with a 98 as well.
129.48. 129.48. 25cc and 30 horsepower.
Incredible.
That's right. These things are 30 horsepower.
Power to weight, lot of difference there. They move around. So Edney will go into second position now at the moment. Still out on track there for Edney. Let's see if maybe he can put another lap together. Did see some purple sector times come up. They've gone off the board. Looks like Pereira has sector 1 at the moment. Is the fastest out there.
Occhipinti with sector 2.
And Quattrocchi in sector 3 too with a 30.99. So not everyone putting a complete lap together when it comes to those times.
Now, the other thing here with the Rotax is we have 3 different categories in amongst the Rotax division on track right now. So we have Rotax Light, Rotax Heavy, and Rotax Super Heavy, as we go back to the 90 of Edney again, who is still P2. He was on pole there for a little bit, but Pereira's just eclipsed him. So 3 different weight divisions to help some of us more generously proportioned drivers.
I like that. That's a nice description.
Yeah. So I'm not 100% sure what the weights are. I'm just sort of thinking back. So I'm going to say with driver, they're probably, I don't know, 190 kilo, 180, 190 kilos with driver. And that'll be sort of there or thereabouts with the different categories. So usually the separation between the weight divisions is sort of 10, 15 kilos between light, heavy, and then super heavy in those groups. I'm not 100% sure what the weight divisions are, but there are definitely 3 categories across this Rotax class.
Well, that's going to change things up a little bit later when we sit and go into race mode, of course, and we'll try and decipher that for you here on the coverage.
Well, that's right. And so much running together. I think the 51's probably not got the advantage of the toe right now, as the 777 of Valor has headed off into pit lane. It's currently down in the 25th position.
Well, I'm going to say Pereira and Edney are in the light class at the moment, so it's pretty much the top 5 all in our mod light.
Yep, so the first of the heavies is number 1, and there's a reason there's number 1 on it, because he's the current champ, Colin McIntyre. He's leading the heavy class in the Woodgate chassis. And first of our super heavies will be the 13 Joe Brancati.
I think that...
And he's also running in the
that might have just moved
Honda
on you.
class.
Just as you read that out, I think the 55 just went a little bit quicker, literally as you were reading that out.
All right, so the 55 is Cameron Austin. And he's another driver doing double duty. So he's also racing in the stock Honda 125 class coming up a little bit later on. So a few of these drivers are doing double duty across 2 different categories.
Well, the beautiful thing is with a supercar is you can get a couple of them in a trailer, can't you? You don't have to just bring the one, you put them in a van.
So
a lot more easy to transport than we see the bigger cars.
I did a lot of karting commentary over in New Zealand and various Rotax challenges. I actually, in the last month of 5 weeks, commentated the Australian Rotax Nationals at Ipswich Kart Club up in Queensland. And the reason why that's such a big deal is because the various winners in the categories go to represent Australia at the Rotax Worlds, which I think is coming up in the next couple of weeks over in Italy. And Rotax supply all the engines for every category and every driver out of every country that's represented. And Australia and New Zealand have had a big representation there for 15 plus years. Have been very, very good over there. In fact, I think Ryan Urban actually won a DD2 Masters Rotax Worlds going back a few years, who's here with us this weekend out in New Zealand running the other 3 Kiwis. So yeah, they're such a cool engine, and it's the first time that I've actually I've seen a little bit up at Queensland Raceway actually with some of the road racing up there, but not with fields as big as this. They're obviously pretty strong down here in Victoria.
Well, you can see Edney in the number 90 there, just coming around turn number 11. We'll try and complete another lap.
Pereira's just gone purple in the first sector, so he's already fastest. But yeah, Edney's got a little bit of a toe here, so he's latched onto the back of the 13 of Brancati, who is in the
he's going to go past him
super
now.
heavy. Yeah, so that's the weight difference. So yeah, he's not going to get the draft because he goes by him. So that's just simply the weight difference.
Wait to see how he goes in sector 2 though, because he is really pushing on.
PB'd the first sector, but so did Occhipinti went green in the and the second sector. So Occhipinti on a lap here, and he's only 200s down on Edney for that second position. Pereira's gone purple, fastest of anyone to the first sector. This is kart 98. Sanjura, this is another Pereira.
Well, he'll come around to complete this lap. I think that second sector trying to do that overtake might have just hurt him just a little bit. You never know. Pereira 129.48 previously. Will not improve on that one.
Oh, Occhipinti. He goes fastest with a 29.45. So kart 93 is now fastest in the light category. McIntyre's still fastest in heavies, and he is 6th overall. That's impressive. Super impressive. And the first of the super heavies is, the 55 of Austin, who's in the 19th position. So that's impressive for a heavy to be inside the top 6 in amongst these. Now, with one make sort of same engine categories, it's all about momentum. You don't have an express amount of horsepower left over. If you make a mistake, you're done and gone. You're literally going to have to get that lap out of the way and regroup and get the next lap going. Edney's just gone fastest in the 90. Went purple in the 3rd sector, 29.350 on lap 9. So these tyres have some durability.
Well, they're really starting to push now. I see the aggression you're talking about in turn number 1, isn't it? They almost slide the cart out.
There's not so much of a break. There might be a lift and turn to get the thing through. But
I want to say it's almost a scando to really get the cart to jump sideways and dig those outside tyres into the bitumen, and then they throw the weight back.
Coming back to what I was saying earlier about the momentum thing, so with only 30 horsepower, you just don't have that much in reserve to drive your way out of it. You've just basically got to gather things back up, regroup, head down and move on. So you'll see very little wheel input. So the steering, the Ackerman, the caster is very, very different to a sprint kart. Plus they run the karts a lot narrower, especially across the rear. So you can see off the side pods, pretty much running flush with the rear wheels. Now, these teams, likewise, like the TA2s and the RX8s and the XLs, as the checkered flag comes out, Occhipinti goes back to the front with a 28.9. Pereira just went 29.09. Edney drops back to 3rd with a 29.35. He had pole there for about 2 minutes.
And he was in the 2nd sector, so he's coming through the 3rd sector now. He's not going to put it together, unfortunately. Eddie's going to stay in third position as he just completes that lap as the checkered flag is out. So they're going to come around and complete these. A few of these karts are already in the pits.
So that's only 4 seconds slower than Josh Haynes just did in the TA2. With 30 horsepower, 125.
And not a lot around them.
Not a lot around him. No, really cool. That was quite cool to watch. Hopefully you learned something. I have had a little bit to do with karting over many, many years on both sides. Well, more so in New Zealand, but yeah, it's pretty cool to have these guys here as part of this weekend, and looking forward to seeing some of the gearbox action a little bit later on.
Yeah, well, that's still coming your way. Of course, up next we do have the Australian XL Series making their way out on track. Of course, a short 3-round Australian Series for them, and it is the final one here this weekend. So qualifying is going to be super important for our top 3. Of course, Waghorn's going to be one of those to watch out for, and we've got a couple of other drivers there that might really challenge him for a win this weekend, but you never know. But
yeah, Blake Tracy, Patterson, yeah, a little bit down on numbers. There's actually a little bit of racing around some of the other parts of the country, and some of these guys are coming off an enduro up at Queensland Raceway last weekend, and
try and finish off their championship at Winton Motor Raceway this weekend. Round 5 of the Hi-Tec Oils Super Series. It's great to have Hi-Tec Oils on board for this year. It's a second the investment making in TA2 muscle cars as well now, with 2 cars out in the field, and great to see him continue some of those relationships as well. I mean, Robbie Farr, it's not about who Robbie Farr is, it's about the relationship they've had over a number of years through his career.
Hi-Tec Oils were on Robbie's sprint cars for a long, long
exactly.
time.
It's a friendship between those two, and it's also a I suppose a corporate partnership they've had for a long time. So great to see that coming back together as well. Let's get down to Mel though with our qualifying results in pit lane.
Tyler Edney, P3 in that session. Wow, it looks like a lot of fun out there in one of these.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, no, real tough competition this weekend. It's going to be some good racing.
So there's only a couple of tenths in it, but I'm curious, how many times around this track do you actually need to brake in one of these?
Oh, there's a few braking points, but yeah, it's always on edge. It's a lot of fun.
Well, it's pretty close up the front. We look forward to some good racing.
Yeah, no, it'll be good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, the helmet's on. I think he's still dissecting the lap, probably thinking a little bit about how he could have gone a little bit faster and how they got him right at the end.
I forgot about the New Zealand accent.
Yours is wearing off a bit, mate. You spent too much time here.
It's still dance, not dance.
Have a look at that. The cars are lined up. Our XL's about to hit the track now.
I'm so impressed with this place. So, Matt, it's the first time I've been here. You've been here previously, obviously, and done a bit of the high-tech drifting stuff too. My first time to Winton Motorsport, to Winton Motor Raceway, and what I sort of didn't really realise is how much history has been here since 1961. And they've had a lot of big names racing here over the years. So back down to Jared on pit lane with one of our pole citizen karts.
Top qualifier, Russ Occhipinti, taking it out by over a tenth of a session. The time's getting faster and faster at the back end of that stint. How did it feel?
Felt great. It's good to be back out there at Winton. Fantastic circuit, so we'll look forward to a good race.
Very difficult to take data away from yesterday's sessions. Tell me, 2-part question, is the kart dialed and are you dialed?
Well, we didn't do any qualifying or practice yesterday, so considering that, yeah, absolutely.
Great stuff. Over to you, Mel.
Sanuja Pereira, only a tenth in at P2. Have you got another tenth to find in the race?
Yeah, absolutely, plenty. You know, there's plenty left. What happened is the kart is not on the right window. I got taken out on the practice session, unfortunately, so it's not on the right place, the kart. So we got to tinker it a little bit and it should be okay on the right.
So feeling confident?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Back up to commentary.
Well, a lot of confidence, isn't there, in these kart races? There's going to be nothing in it. They are going to go 28 of them on track. Can they beat the legends? We've had them 8 wide in South Australia. Can they beat them?
Well, what we didn't see too much there in quali was the draft effect. So off the race start, they are going to be all over each other. And you don't necessarily, if you're in a battle group, want to be leading off that final corner on the run down to the checkered flag. So I'm really excited about that. As the XLs come out on track for their qualifying session, coming back to what we were talking about, Matt, with the history of this place, and as a facility, it lacks for absolutely nothing. A lot of the Victorian supercar teams obviously test out of here. Pretty much this place runs, like, say, Queensland Raceway for over 300 days of the year with activities, driver training, various other events and everything. It's a pretty much full-time working racetrack for over $300 a year.
Skid pan there as well. So I mean, we did.
That caught me out yesterday.
We actually had some drift training over there yesterday. So we actually had a
I'm standing down in the pits, and this car was coming back towards us, and I'm like, "Where's that?" And it's on the skid pad over the other side of the track as our TA2s and that are running past them. It was a weird effect. Similar thing happens at Sydney Motorsport Park with the drifting out.
But
the back.
obviously driver training here. Okay, the boys are already into it. Let's have a look at some drafting down the straight already. We're not going to muck around. Let's get into this qualifying session for the Australian XL Series. And I tell you what, Toby Waghorn leading the championship at the moment. And they are right behind him. Let's see what times we can pull out in this first lap. Let's not muck around at all. It's championships on the line. They want to try and get this done.
So all of these teams on the same Nankang tyre. I believe some of the interstate teams can run on other tyres, but they're not eligible for points. So this is a 3-round Australian championship. The defending champ, Tyler Collins, is out there in the #1 machine, and I'm thinking with the season that Tyler's had this year with the one on the car, that he almost wishes he didn't put the #1 on the car, because he's had an absolute shocker. They put a new package together last weekend up at Queensland Raceway, had electrical problems all weekend. Him and young Matt Boyle had actually teamed up, which would have been a very, very good duo, but they didn't finish any of the races because they just had a continuous electrical issue. There is Matt Boyle there in the Fuchs number 80, so he's back in his normal car. So Tyler's actually in one of Cam Wilson's cars, which Cam Wilson's won multiple championships in XLs, so
especially up there
in the Zenith colours. So look, he's down there just to salvage something and get some more racing under his belt. And like a lot of these youngsters, looking to go forward into different forms of motorsport, progressing to the likes of TA2 and Super 2 and some of the other categories.
Yeah, we did catch up with a couple of them yesterday, and they talk about what they have maybe got behind the wheel of recently. Just had a little bit of a look at it. But we see a lot of the drivers from other categories come back and race XLs at endurance meets and things like that.
Well, we had some of the supercar drivers. We had some of the supercar drivers. Nash Morris was in a car up at Queensland Raceway last weekend with the endurance. So they had 2 150-kilometre races. And some very, very good racing by all accounts. But yeah, so some of the supercar guys come out and play with them. Ted Pasquale ran last year. I know he was one of the guys in there that jumped into one of the cars. As you said, Nash Morris, and a lot of those drivers have come out of this category and gone on to bigger and better things. And they're one of the mainstay categories of Australian motorsport. I don't know how many XLs there are around state to state, but there would literally be hundreds of them racing.
There's not many left in sheds.
Well, we keep saying that.
They've gone up a little bit in value.
It's like HQs. It's like HQs.
They're still there hiding.
They're still out there
in a random paddock.
Yeah.
But they have converted them into these fantastic little race cars, front-wheel drive, of course. What are they pushing? Just over 100 horsepower if they can get a good engine together?
Sort of 90... Yeah, 90 to, I don't think they're getting to 100. Again, you're not allowed to do anything other than basically blueprint the engine, so just make sure everything's nice. I know a lot of the teams will be on the lookout for different cylinder heads where something's just a little bit better with something weird in the casting or something, but you know, they're pretty much stock standard. Open exhausts, things like that, gearboxes are standard. Shock-wise, I think they run a stock MCA shock package or super shock across the category, and some of the different states run different tyres and maybe shocks as well, but pretty much other than that, it all comes down to driver input and the nut behind the wheel.
I do like, obviously they can change their intake up. There are some really creative air intakes on these things. I can tell you when you get down the pits, trying to get away from heat soak, trying to get away from all those things.
Trying to get the air through them.
That is probably the most unique thing I find on these XLs, is that.
But you've also got to have a little bit of mechanical subtlety to them. at the end of the day, they're a 1990s motor car, so technology's obviously come a lot further than that. So it's about how you build the car and put it together. The roll cage, very, very critical, making the car as stiff as possible. Their front-wheel drive, you can't be too hard on the gearboxes because they are a standard road car gearbox. So, you know, that's probably one of the weak points of the category, but those that go through more gearboxes than others are probably a little bit harder on the gear.
Matty Borlett's just gone to the #1 in qualifying.
That's
with
not
a
surprising.
1:42.69. They've still got 8.5 minutes. Yep.
Caleb Patterson's
He's
just
on a run,
gone to purple to the first sector. He was quickest a minute ago.
Blake Tracy, I noticed before, just went past Waghorn. Now, Tracy's coming off a bit of a different car he had at the bend. Unfortunately, they had some mechanical issues, took that car home early, but he was driving his dad's LS-powered BMW E36, which was amazingly quick. And
for one race.
And he's jumped back into the XL for this weekend.
So Boylett, fastest at the moment. Patterson's gone purple in the second sector as well, so he's on a flyer. Needs to find 0.12 of a second, and he should do that. So that was the orange and green car just coming out of the final corner, turn number 12. So to the line right now for Patterson, and goes fastest, 1:42.59. Puts a 10th on Boylett.
2 purple sectors in that lap as well.
Wasn't green or personal best in the third sector, so he's actually got a little bit of time. Boylett's got a 10th on him in the last sector alone. So Boylett fastest in the last sector. Tracy third, Waghorn, Collins. Then we go back to the 11 of Sam McLaren. 64 of Caleb Heffron. 8 of Brad Verica. 96 of Brad Verica, who we saw race up with us at Queensland Raceway. So Boylett, he's just gone purple to the first sector. So the Fuchs Oils number 80 is on a lap here.
Back wheels in the air as well as he gets around the left-hander.
Probably a little bit more tyre durability in qualifying on the Nankangs with these cars. So you might have, say, a 5-lap window to maybe try and get it done. It's still pretty cool out there. It's only 16, 17 air temp.
What I want to know, Jamie, is every time they come out, we've got to have sign bingo. So how many signs are we gonna hurt this weekend?
Crutcher's already got one. Crutcher got one yesterday in front of me down here in the turn 1.
We'll have to make that up for the viewers at some stage. The sign bingo for next season.
All right, Boylett PB's the second sector. Now we know he's been faster in the third sector. Out of the final corner, that familiar little skip with the rear wheel in the air. So Boylett actually chasing down Patterson. So Patterson, he's just gone 42.6. Boylett 42.55. Goes fastest by 4/100ths of a second.
Wow. Have a look at that too. He has gone sector 1 and sector 3.
He's just purpled the second sector on that lap.
He's brought it home at the moment. He's got it over Patterson and Tracy.
Only by 400ths with 5 minutes to go.
Waghorn though, just outside the top 3. Can he string a lap together?
Boylett's gone fastest to the first sector again. 31.08. Tracy, his PB just went 31.2, so Boylett's got 2 tenths on him in the first sector alone. He's such a quiet young guy, but man, can that kid drive a race car. So 31.0 to the first split. Boylett looking to extend that advantage.
He's gone purple again. Now remembering he had a perfect round last time out at Queensland Raceway.
He did too.
Maximised 200 points. But most points you can get it around.
Boylett PB's the second sector, so he's on a very, very good lap. Not as fast. So Caleb Patterson's been fastest to the second sector. Actually by 2 tenths on Boylett.
Did I just hear a little bit of limiter there?
Yeah, that was definitely on the limiter. In a couple of places, they're each 2 tenths quicker to different sectors. So the car's got a better part of the racetrack than one of the others. So, okay, Boylett. Now, Tracy from nowhere has just gone 42.40. Boylett just got it. No, Tracy had it for about 3 seconds.
For about as much as the difference is between the laps.
Boylet went purple in the third sector again and went 42.40. Tracy 42.48. Patterson 42.59. So Tracy's name appeared at the top briefly for literally about 3 or 4 seconds.
About 0.08 of a second, a bit like the
and then Boylet
split.
went wham. All right, so there's Tracy in the 195.
Traffic could be advantageous sometimes, I suppose. You get a little bit of drafting. But at this point, it's not going to be.
This is like game on racing at the moment rather than qualifying because they're all tucked up behind each other.
Well, Waghorn's the one for us that hasn't really strung a complete lap together. So
Tracy's gone green. He's PB'd the first sector on screen now with the 195. Second in the points, and what is the gap? 25 points.
25 points is all that's in it at the moment.
So Boylet went 31.1. Now he's actually still faster to the first sector than Tracy on this lap, but it's not a PB. So he's still got another lap potentially here, with 3 minutes left to go to maybe get it done, maybe a couple. So Tracy out of the final corner.
Let's see how this run goes. He's going to have to set himself up.
There's no information for the second sector, so 42.9. So lost a half a second in the last sector somewhere. So that was a 42.9. So see if he has another crack here.
So they come up over this little crest down into turn number 3. They seem to really pull the car up there as he turns into the right hand. It's double right hand at the moment. Slides it into 4. He's pushing. Look at these two behind. They are just hanging on. Patterson and Waghorn together at the moment. Oh, Patterson just flicks up a little bit of dirt there, goes a little bit wide. I'm waiting for Waghorn to really put that time together. Currently leading the championship. He's had a couple of good rounds, but he hasn't put a round win together yet.
Well, he's only got one real lap to do this one, and probably one more with 1:55 left to go in the session. Boylet fastest, 1:42.40. Tracy second, 42.48. Patterson 42.59. Waghorn 43.03. So he's not even in the 42s.
Well, we're not seeing those purple sector times anymore either. So I think maybe the
just rolled off the tyre now. Yeah, probably. So lap 5. So Boylet's still putting some laps together. He's just PB'd the second sector. So Boylet's strong there. He wasn't so strong earlier on, so he might be trying a different line through there. So a couple of them are still on laps here, with just over a minute left to go in this qualifying session for the XLs.
Well, our leaders are only going to get one more chance to do this. They come over to complete this qualifying lap. Boylet still leading us with a 1:42.40. He's 0.079 of a second faster than Tracy, Patterson, Waghorn. We wait as we look at the sector times come up. Boylet currently fastest in the first sector, Patterson fastest in the second, and Tracy fastest in the third.
Yeah, Boylet's just rolled out on that last lap. He settled back into the 44s, so I think he knows his job's done. But he's only got 800ths up his sleeve. But Tracy, Patterson and Waghorn aren't really lining up the timesheets or the sectors right now, so I think this one's run and done.
McLaren's just got a 31.36, which is fastest for them.
That's a PB.
That's
to the first sector.
Yeah, for Sam McLaren.
Yeah, in P5 currently. Tyler Collins, the reigning champ, back in 6th. They've been lamenting a little bit of straight line handling issues so far this year, and made some changes at Queensland Raceway last weekend, and as I said, didn't finish a race with electrical issues. So with the other car, they have no idea where they're at with it, because it just, with the electrical issue they had, they still don't know what it is.
Yeah, and now sitting back there, Collins in 6th position at the moment. That's probably not, it probably hasn't lit up his weekend like he'd like to already. So Boylet just rolling out of that at the moment. That is just a walk down lap. But Tracy, and here the tyres really being pushed at the moment. They are protesting as they push. A couple of these cars just push them for the last few corners. Checkered flag is out in this qualifying session for our Excel Australia Series. Just waiting as they come across the line. We're going to see any movement in that Boyle. It's still there with the number 1. Not going to see Tracy improve, unfortunately. Just going to miss out on Patterson's not going to improve either.
Verica's on a lap, but he's a half second down to the split. He's PB to the first split, so it might jump him up a couple if he can continue the lap on. And he's one of the last cars left out there on the race circuit, so we'll just wait and see how that one comes across. I think that's Verica over the backside coming into turn 12 now. He went PB second sector. So watch for Brad Verica maybe to jump up the order here. He certainly featured in some of the results at Morgan Park and Queensland Raceway. And Verica down to the line, or was that into the pits? It might have actually gone up past the checkered flag before that.
Well, here we go. Let's have a look at the qualifying results of the Track Attack Australia and Excel Series. Matty Boyle will end up in the number 1 position for race 1. Alongside will be Blake Tracy. There's back to Caleb Patterson and Toby Waghorn. Sam McLaren and Tyler Collins will be on the 3rd row. Then it's Caleb Heffron, Brad Verica, 7th and 8th. Joshua Richards and Edward Mitchell in the 5th row of the grid for race number 1 this afternoon. That'll be coming your way a little bit later, about 2 o'clock. So we'll see how these Excels are really going to fight this one out. Waghorn fighting to stay in this championship with a 25-point lead. Can he bring that home? And, of course, we're all here for the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series round number 5 at Winton Motor Raceway. We'll get our number 1 qualifying down there in the pit side with Jared.
Congratulations, Matthew Boyle. The Fuchs XL taking you straight to the top spot. It's a smaller field, but the action is hot nonetheless, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty good lap. Yeah, good fun. Hopefully some good racing.
A lot of moments there with the inside rear wheel just hanging in the air. Tell me, what are the grip conditions like in today's circumstances?
It was a little bit slippery, but yeah, we'll tune her up, see what happens.
Great stuff. Looking forward to your efforts, mate.
Thank you.
Man, a few words. Just wants to.
He's such a quiet guy. He's such a quiet guy.
Quiet achiever.
Oh, look, I think he's a kid that's going to go places. Every time that we've seen him at the XLs all over Australia, he's been very, very fast. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing what they can do going forward. As we've got some more karts coming out on track, so this will be Group 2. This will be the 125 shifter karts. These ones have gearboxes, and they're a little bit faster.
Do they need to go any faster?
Well, wait until we get to the superkarts.
So much action here this weekend at Winton Motor Raceway as part of the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series. Our penultimate round as well. Of course, we head to one raceway for our next one, and that is a revamped track. That'll be the end of the month, the 25th to the 27th of October. And, you know, what a fantastic track. Good opportunity. Let's head down with more of our qualifiers in the Australian XL Series with Mel.
Okay, second place, 79 thousandths of a second. Blake Tracy, it looks like he gave it everything.
Yeah, no, I was definitely giving it a fair bit out there. I was just trying to take the first few laps. I wish I'd have made more of it because we said our tyre pressure is pretty high, but no, it was pretty good actually. I was getting used to the car again. I haven't been in this car for about 6 months here, so no, super keen. I know I got the race pace on the boys, so smooth and consistent, we'll win the race.
Okay, well done. Over to you, Jared.
Congratulations, rounding out third place. It was a tough qualifier and it just got hotter and hotter at the end. The lap time's tumbling. Tell me, are you happy with your performance in that third spot?
Yeah, definitely. It's my first time at Winton. It's a complete new car as well, so yeah, it's a bit new for me down here, and yeah, we're definitely happy to be P3. I think we're on pole for a while there and just got nipped towards the end, so the pace is definitely there, and I think the racing's going to be absolutely brilliant.
Trust me, there were about 7 or 8 lead changes for pole position there. So the Pete Phillips Performance XL did you proud?
Oh, definitely. It's been absolutely amazing, and I guess the engine in this thing's not so bad after all, so good on you, Pete.
Great stuff. Thanks, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Caleb's one of the Queensland boys. Pete Phillips up there in Brisbane. I've lost count of how many XL engines he's built over the years. He's built a few.
He's found the secret recipe, has he? The right head combination
Just
for the right.
Put them together
nice.
Just put them together nice. And the drivers are going to have a little bit of mechanical sympathy as well. But I'm looking forward to that first XL race. I know we are a little bit down on numbers with 10 cars, but I can tell you that there will be 8 or 10 cars just about fighting in that leading group. Couple of little surprises. Josh Richards a little bit further down the order, and Ethan Mitchell likewise. 2 very, very quick cars. They must have had a couple of little issues there in qualifying.
Well, someone who's had a couple of issues over the season but looking to fight back in these final 2 rounds is Hayden Jackson, and we caught up with him earlier this weekend. Hayden Jackson, it's been a bit of an up and down year for you. It's a season you probably want to forget at the moment, but you still got a massive smile on your face. How do you recoup from what has been a bit of bad luck and focus on the next 2 rounds?
Yeah, it's definitely been a trying year for sure. We just really try and come into every race with a positive attitude and just say our luck's going to turn around. One day it's gonna, so we'll be right.
We saw some really good glimpses of, you know, how good you are at driving these cars at the end of last season. Do you think maybe we'll see a podium come these next 2 rounds?
If it keeps raining. Definitely if it keeps raining. We love the rain, so the more it rains, the better it is for us.
And what are you looking forward to for our final round? One Raceway, it's been a long time since going there. It's going to be a challenge in these cars.
Oh, it's going to be so much fun. It's only 4 hours from home, so it's nice and close. We don't have to travel too far, and just the new track is going to be sick. The layout looks so much fun, so we can't wait.
Well, it's great to see you and your crew here. It's great to see the smile on your face, and we wish you all the best luck for this weekend.
Appreciate it, mate. Thank you.
Bigger and better. He did a lot of driver training last year, and I said, oh, you're still doing a lot? He goes, well, they're actually getting rid of that car. I haven't been up to Norwell as much. So he's doing a lot more with the business, working day to day than he is behind the steering wheel. But he's got the potential there. He's just missed out on that top 10, though.
You know someone's having a tough season, and I can't remember if it was Morgan Park. I think it was Queensland Raceway, where he managed to avoid an accident, and we were almost clapping in commentary that he got through unscathed. So that shows you how tough a season it's been for Hayden Jackson.
Oh, look, and you know, like that's what one thing you got to admit about those competitors in that category. Most of them still shut with a smile on their face. They know it's unfortunate. It's just an unfortunate season sometimes, and you got to shut with a big smile and give it all your best every round. And I don't know, like he hasn't quite qualified up the top, but look for him to work his way through the field this afternoon.
Had a couple of good runs here yesterday in practice where it was sort of wet, dry, wet, dry, wet, dry. Hayden is very, very good in the wet. He is Jim Richards-esque in the wet. He must have a little bit of Kiwi in him, I reckon. He did live in Auckland for a year, he was telling me yesterday, so might have used that as a little bit of Auckland motorway experience in the wet conditions. More karts out on track. These are different karts to the earlier ones we saw a little bit earlier with the Rotax 125. So these are 125cc shifter karts, and we have 2 categories in amongst the 125s. The international class, which are more of the European sort of spec engines, and the national class, or the stock class, which is a CR125 Honda stock engine. In the international class, you've got the Honda RS 125s, which were a really, really competitive motorcycle back in the day. The Italian TMs, DEA, and Modena engines. Now, there's even a couple in there that I haven't even heard of with all the kart sport I've been involved in over the years. And thank you to Ryan Urban for actually showing me through the petty area yesterday and going through, because I'd never heard. I have heard of Modena. I hadn't heard of the DEAs. And then when we get into the 250s, we'll be talking about more engine combinations. So these karts will be sort of in around that 45-ish horsepower plus. The international stuff will be a little bit faster and more horsepower. All 2-stroke configuration. 5-speed gearboxes. I don't think they're running any 6 speeds in the 125s, but definitely 5-speed. And then, yeah, we've got the stock category as well with the CR125 Honda engines in there. So a good lineup. So we've got, 17 out there on track for this qualifying session. So with the Rotaxes, we saw times that are down in the high 128s. In practice this morning, I watched this group, and they were in the 126s. So they're only a couple of seconds off TA2.
Only a couple of seconds.
Wait till we see the Superkarts. So in a lot of tracks around, I don't know if it's so much over here, some of the smaller tracks, and I guarantee back in the earlier days here at Winton with the smaller track, the original club track, that a Superkart would just about have had the lap record back in the day around here. Some of the smaller tracks in New Zealand, Superkarts actually held lap records at, I think, Manfield at one stage, and the old Bay Park Raceway, where Superkarts were faster than any other category. So these are really, really competitive little karts. They're very, very quick. You'd be looking at speeds probably up to I'd say between 190 and 200 conservatively. If the Rotaxes are sort of doing 160, 165 kilometres an hour, these things would comfortably be in that sort of 190 category.
They're moving around a little bit more on the track too, aren't they?
Yeah, well, they've got a lot more horsepower.
A little bit more, yeah, a little bit more speed.
A lot more horsepower. Plus, you've got the gear change element as well, so you get a little bit of that chirp and that bounce on acceleration. But again, like the Rotaxes through 1 and 2 especially, there will be, they're probably a little bit more of a breakdown into there because they're approaching that at a lot faster speed. But the difference is they're plucking gears as they're doing it. So they're downshifting. You don't want to get like a compression lock-up. Probably not so much with a 2-stroke. Maybe with a 4-stroke you'd have that effect. But they'll definitely down the gears, pretty much just a sequential sort of style gearbox.
Watching them go around, is there much difference if they try and duck down behind that cowling? I mean, we don't have the long straights here. It'll be different at a circuit like the Bend or QR where we might see them duck their head down.
Definitely QR. Here probably not so much. And I think, look, the other thing with the aero, ducking down tends to clean up the air behind, as we've got one parked on the side of the track. That is kart 22, Jason Ackermanis. That's an Anderson chassis, so this is one of the European. These are more of a, some of these will be more European sort of style chassis as opposed to some of the locally built ones. But yeah, so there's probably some different theories with that, Matt, with the aero. So tucking down, you're actually going to clean up the air behind you as well, and that allows the kart behind you to tuck in. If you're sat up and you're braking the air behind you, it's messing up the aero to be able to get the tuck in. So we'll see in the racing where that really comes into light, especially here on the front straight, and probably from 4 up to 7, where they'll be nose to tail and trying to take advantage and just popping out up into the top corner under brakes to get some passes. So very, very different lines with these karts than you would probably see with a typical circuit car rather than a kart. And again, like we said in the earlier qualifying session for Rotaxes, you'll have your qualifying lines here, and then ideally in the race you'll have more of a race line where the qualifying lines aren't going to work because you'll just get passed every time you try and do it.
Well, Tremaine currently leading us in this qualifying session, the number 47 with a 126.78. Got an 8/10 lead. Well, that's just gone out 7/1000ths of a second now. Vela in second position. Big jump. Got a purple sector in sector 3. So the fastest in sector 3 goes to 126.79. Oh, that's moving around again. We're getting changes actually on our timing screen very quickly. Vela might not have gone as that close. I thought it was a little bit close according to the post. Tremaine went faster again, sorry. So Tremaine finished a lap and has gone 0.3 of a second faster now.
126.48. So yeah, they're quicker than practice this morning. They'll be on a new tyre to start the qualifying session. So Bradley Tremaine, I think he's part of the Erebus V8 Supercar team. I might be wrong on that, but I thought I'd heard that down in the pits yesterday because one of the Kiwi boys has come over as part of that Tremaine group as well. So I'll leave it there.
You'll bit of research to do tonight.
So the first of the stock Hondas is in P7. That's kart 31. James Straw. Now that's a BRM chassis. So Tremaine in the 47. Now that's a Woodgate chassis, so whether that's one of the, I'd say that's probably one of the local sort of variations chassis-wise. So again, most of these karts will be very, very different to the Sprint style chassis. They'll be longer, a little bit narrower, and you can see you can run a little bit more aerodynamic stuff. So some of the karts are running wings, some of them aren't. So there's preferences for and against. At some of them, the bodywork is a lot lower in profile than some of the others. So, as you can see there with those two of those 3 karts look similar. The one out front there was very, very different with the body profile. So Tremaine's just gone faster again at a 126.2470. 26.2.
So I'm assuming there'll be a sweet spot on this tyre too, as it seems to be coming up to temperature.
It's about the only thing I didn't actually have a close look at yesterday as to what tyre they're on. There's so many different tyre manufacturers, I'm not 100% sure what they're on, but I know, like with the Sprint tyres, they're actually pretty durable. Like, I would say that they will be on that tyre set for the rest of the weekend, so what you qualify on is what you race on. Exactly what tyre they're on, whether it's a Dunlop, a Bridgestone or what, I'm not 100% sure. So if we get an opportunity down there and the guys are on the pits listening, maybe they can have a little look for us, Jared. if you got your ears on.
He'll have to be quick if he's standing out there on the pits watching those leathers go around. We'll have to wait and find out. Tremaine still leading us, though. Vella, Hooper, Fuchs. Giorgio's just jumped up into 5th position there. He's run personal best over all the sectors. Goes a 1:28.37 for the fastest time of this qualifying session for them.
Yeah, Harry Giorgio, and that's one of the European Anderson chassis. So the Andersons have been very, very famous and very, very popular in supercar racing, not only in 125, but obviously the 250 class, which we'll be seeing a little bit later on out of Europe. Multi-world championship winning chassis.
These carts ain't going to like the rules. Look at him slide it out as well.
So
coming onto the main straight.
As you said earlier on, Matt, these carts have a little bit more aggression about them because they've got more horsepower in their shifting gears, so they will move around a lot more than the Rotax 125s.
Yeah,
that's a cool shot with the drone. I love that. So that shows
you can see it sliding quite a bit.
In a touring car through there, it looks a lot tighter than that, doesn't it? But with a kart, they pretty much just blow through there. Tremaine's gone purple to the first sector again. He's on a better lap again. He might sneak into the 25s here. At the moment, they're only about a second and a half of TA2 qualifying times.
Yeah, well, we were 1:24.9.
Wait until you see the supercarts. Wait until you see the 250s.
You're getting pretty excited about the supercarts,
I know what times the supercarts were doing in practice earlier on today, so... No, look, it's something different as part of the Hi-Tec Super Series. They're a very, very strong category down this part of the world. And again, coming back to the Kiwi-Aussie thing, and with the Kiwis coming over and running in Rotax, the road racing on both sides of the Tasman is actually pretty strong, and they do coordinate together to come and race together and have sort of unofficial Trans-Tasman trophies and things like that. On both sides of the Tasman. So there's a bit of camaraderie across Australia and New Zealand with road racing that sort of went through a little bit of a lull probably a decade ago, but it's certainly coming back on strong looking at some of the numbers here this weekend with these cars.
Just over 3 minutes left in this qualifying session for the 125s.
Tremaine went 25.83. Wow. So well and truly.
That's 0.4 of a second jump.
That's only a second. So what did Josh...
24.9.
24.9. So he's within a second. Within a second of TA2 qualifying with 550 horsepower. So they're only giving up 500 horsepower.
Well, that's a signal. That's a universal signal, surely, for you can go past.
Yeah, the other. Follow me.
I just had a look here. That is at the 55 that time. Looks like it might have been.
It's the first time I've had a driver's list across the all three categories, which number about 50.
So Cameron Austin is racing in 2 categories this weekend too. Look, there's the Honda as well as the Rotax.
Yep. So there's a few of them doing the Rotax thing. So for the Rotaxes, it's the second round of their Australian Championship, which is why the Kiwis are over. So obviously there's quite a bit of emphasis on that.
Is that allowed for a Kiwi to take an Aussie Championship home?
It's been done before.
Oh, I'm sure you'll be right behind the Kiwis this weekend, won't you?
Let's not start talking about chili bins and pavlova again, Kevin.
It's all about the Lamingtons, mate.
Kiwis always win the car park feature, my friend, trust me.
Oh, the 76 up on your screen, and that's Lee Vella. Currently sitting in 2nd position in qualifying, and he got a purple Sector 1 last time around, so potentially could be pushing some times. Not going to get it on this lap, though. He's just complete Sector 1. 24, though, is spun around. That is Lee Filipponi. I'm just trying to have a look where that might be.
I'm gonna suggest it's in the gravel.
It's in the gravel section. They're sending him out. It might just be over here somewhere in... No, just out of 3.
Just out of 3, yep. Definitely out of 3.
It's sometimes when we get those close-up shots, we just got to figure out where those carts have come off. I mean,
now, unlike a sprint car, like a sprint cart's still awkward to move around, but these road race carts with the longer bodies and the fairings and everything on them, they're really, really awkward to move around. So I think he's just going to bail out of there and go and stand on the side of the track. So we've only got a minute left in qualifying anyway. So Tremaine still fastest in 125 gearbox at 125.8390.
So we do have a yellow flag out in that corner. It shouldn't slow them down too much. It's just a warning that he's already gone over the wall, so that's good.
He kept it running there initially, and then it sounded like he did stall it. .14 just going across the line. It's Harry Georgiou, who is
last
6th position.
This will be a last lap for most of them because we do only have 30 seconds left in qualifying. So who's in our third sector that might possibly get across there? There's a few of them already making into the pits as well. I mean, a 15-minute session out there for qualifying. That's going to be about their race time as well. So if they've got those, most of them have done 7 or 8 laps. I think we've got 6 and 8 lap races coming on later today. So they're probably about right as the checkered flag comes out for this qualifying session. And we will start to round up some numbers. Tremaine already in the pits, not worried about that with that 125.8. That is a clear 0.5 of a second faster in qualifying. That's a massive difference.
It's a pretty big gap. That's a pretty big gap. That's, within a second of the TA2s. So just looking at, so the outright lap record here at Winton on the national circuit is a 1:14.30 set by John Magro back in 19 in a Formula 3 Dallara car. Which is really, really quick. Certainly very quick. I don't think you're not going to get anything close to that.
Are we going to get the strap out for this? Can we snatch strap it out?
Is it a tow back, or just throw it on the back of the ute?
Bit of manpower. I think we're just going to lift it out surely to get that started. That's just
the safety team are like, what do we do with this?
Where do I put the strap? Bradley Tremaine will be your #1 qualifier here for the Superkarts Group 2, which is the 125s, followed by Lee Vella, Matty Hooper, Brad Stebbing, Laurie Fuchs, Harry Giorgio will be there in 6th position, Brett Burble in 7th, and it's Christian Sebbing, James Straw, and Jock Santos to round out the top 10. Filipponi goes back to 11, then it's Austin in 12, Bracati in 13th, Duckworth in 14th, Jay in 15th, McGrother, and then Ackermanis will round out our 17 125 cards for that qualifying session here at the Hi-Tec Oils Super Series day #1 of competition as well. It's still got plenty of cloud cover out there at the moment on track, although we haven't seen the darker clouds that we saw yesterday come over and drop a little bit of that precipitation around the track. However, we are watching for it because this afternoon there are some predictions. Doesn't mean it always comes to light though.
Oh, we just push start them and get them back to the track. That's how we do it.
You got to bend over a fair way, don't you? We're working our volunteers. Yeah. We need like the old speedway style, don't we? The quad with the starter on the front, the board on the front.
We do that at a little local dirt track up at Willowbank.
That's called getting older and not wanting to bend over like that to push these carts.
I'd never seen it before.
Here we go. Now we've got a snatch strap.
Oh, there's a... So you can snatch strap them. That's cool. You've got to be careful, though. I hope he hasn't put it on the steering wheel.
Well, he might. It might be like the bikes where they hold onto them. So the driver might be what it's anchored to. Never know. Our rescue team's doing a fantastic job. We thank all of our volunteers, our safety officials, everyone who's involved in the Hi-Tec Oils Super Series. Been a fair bit of travel this year, of course. Kicked things off in Sydney, went up to Morgan Park in Queensland, Queensland Raceway, over to South Australia, and now we're back here at the home of the Hi-Tec Oils Super Series. And we've had plenty of people join us this weekend, and we caught up with Danny Reidy to talk about that earlier this weekend.
Danny Reidy making the transition from the dirt to the tarmac. Talk to me about basically the mental backflip that's had to happen to make this car work for you.
That's a good question. I don't think I've found that what it is yet. It's going to be a year or two down the track till I do. It's just completely different. Nothing that I didn't not expect, but nothing that I knew either. It's just one of them things that you've got to take on each, especially to braking, setup, tyres, a wet track, all these things come into play where it was second nature from where I was with the Speedway, and not having the backing I had with the Speedway. We're doing this a bit more cruisier with the just a couple of crew guys, and none of us know anything. We're all from Speedway and just learning as we go and just making it enjoyable at the same time, and don't care where we finish. As long as we're there at the end of the day.
These cars are wildly different to work on, aren't they, compared to your usual mud buggy?
Yeah, big time. I mean, sort of similar to what I said before about knowing what we knew with the Speedway sprint cars. I'm learning every time you service a car, you learn how to do things better and quicker, but there is a lot more involved in these things compared to the sprint car. You can do a maintenance on a sprint car in a couple of hours, where these things take you a full day pretty much to go over everything, and you can still do more. It's as much as you want to do on these things. It's called preventative maintenance, but And that's things we still got to learn too, what goes wrong with them and what's what stays good on them for a while. As we were a sprint car, you knew everything that would go wrong, and you'd know to change something within so many shows and get rid of it before it could be a fault. That's another learning curve with this, but it's good fun, and you get your break between your races, which I really enjoy. You get a few weekends off, and now I've got the kids. It's a good way to still be involved in motorsport and have your weekends at home with the family as well.
Well, let's fast forward now to the present, and let's talk about what your goals are this weekend. Tell me what's on the strategy card.
Just more learning, really. I went out for one session earlier, and it was raining, which didn't bother me. I needed to get out and see the track. Never seen the track before, as to everywhere else I'm going and been. And, well, we missed the second one with the rain. I only got one crew guy here this weekend, but I've been crook all week since, Taylor and Ben, we lost the truck. And I've only come in Monday, and I've been crook all week, so I barely got to work on the car. So this weekend is just a survival, really, because I'm still a bit crook, and just cut some laps, keep it from 4 wheels, and progress through the weekend. Hopefully we get a good, clean run in this third session, and make the most of qualifying tomorrow morning.
Oh, we're looking forward to it, mate. Thank you.
Cheers, thank you.
Well, he always sounds so calm and collected, doesn't Daniel Reidy? He just takes it in his stride, and I like the optimism they've got as we're here to learn tracks. It's a bit more relaxed than what they were doing before. Obviously, full-time program with the sprint cars where they're doing a lot of travel.
Absolutely.
To come down to 6 rounds this year, unfortunately, he's truck breaking down out of Adelaide, and he missed the opportunity probably to get the maintenance done a bit earlier. But, yeah, I love it. Again, spend a bit more time with the family and just showing up with a small crew.
That was one of the first things he said when we first spoke to him at the beginning of the championship, was the family aspect, and it was pretty difficult to get the kids into the sprint car pits around the various tracks around Australia, which I believe in a couple of instances now they're actually starting to try and make some changes for that. But we talk about the travelling, with the Super Series, we started off in Sydney, went through Queensland, Morgan Park, Queensland Raceway, the Bend in South Australia. Danny's based up in the Northern Territory, I'm pretty sure. Well, certainly that's where they originated from. So, from a travelling award, and you're from up that part of the world, like, for me, it's faster to fly back to New Zealand than it is to fly to Darwin.
Right, it's much closer to go across the ditch, I can tell you. But let's travel right down to the pit lane now with Jared.
Well, we'd ordinarily see him in a bright gold-wrapped Formula RX-8, but Steve Simmons is currently enjoying pit lane here with me. There's a lot going on back in the pits, isn't there, Steve?
There sure is, yeah. We've had a catastrophic engine failure yesterday in practice, so we've been putting a new engine overnight, and we're hoping to get back out there this afternoon.
Now, I think the story here is, where did that engine actually come from?
Well, your guess is as good as mine, I reckon. So we don't know. We don't know what's gone wrong, but we'll get to that later. We'll just deal with what's in front of us.
And the engine that's going into the car, it's been a bit of a trial and tribulation story to get that happening.
Yeah, we made a bunch of last-minute phone calls yesterday afternoon and found one out of a road car down in Melbourne. Had a mate drive it up last night. We got halfway through last night, and we're finishing it off at the moment.
How good is that? We're looking forward to seeing you on the racetrack. Unfortunately, starting rear of grid, but I'm sure you'll take that in your stride.
Bit of work to do,
Great stuff. We're looking forward to it, mate.
Thank you. Cheers.
What I love about Formula RX-8 is there will be a group of people down there helping him work on that between races. We've seen it happen so often in the Formula RX-8.
Where did the engine come from? Oh, I don't know. Somewhere in Melbourne.
Yeah, somewhere.
We walked past it this morning, Matt, at driver's briefing, and it was sat up there on the jacks with 2 engines sitting in front of it. So one of them was going back in, and that was this morning.
Bit of work to do, but I'm sure they'll all rally around. Qualifying session now for the Formula RX-8s. Now, TFH hired 3 cars in this one this weekend, including Josh Thomas, who decided to do double duties for some silly reason.
There's a 4th one coming. There's a 4th TFH car
I believe
coming.
Josh's car had plates on it 2 weeks ago.
29.
Oh, that's unfortunate. That's going to be Terry Lewis too in the Road Emotion one. He actually has a few cars. He's had a few cars throughout the year where people have variously leased them, been bought off him.
Terry had issues at the previous round too at the Bend. I don't think he actually went. He may have started the weekend, but certainly didn't finish it.
I think he spends a lot more time working than everyone else. Wow! Look at that. Over the curbs too. Ayrton Philippi.
We haven't talked about the curbs,
he is
Matt.
moving.
There's some new ones here, eh? I think Ayrton might have just found them.
And Ayrton, take a breath, because Rob Bowden's already challenged that turn number 2 and found that tyre barrier. That's where he went on, got tucked into the tyre barrier, and they've done some extensive repairs on that car yesterday. Well, it was all artificial, right? It was just some bent guards. Wheel didn't move. So Didn't bend anything, just the guards, lost the side mirror.
Maybe the spare guards came off the donor car with the engine for the 17 from earlier on.
Yeah,
so this is on board with Ayrton Philippi, so it would have been good to be on board when he was going over the curbs, because that definitely had some attitude about it.
So I'm not quite sure if he's made his 17th birthday yet, Ayrton. He is pretty young out there. He's new to the field this year. Done a little bit of go-karting.
The truck on the dash, not a distraction.
He is a young talent coming through the ranks. Let's have a look at a replay here as we go over. Oh, he gets right on the inside.
He ran it straight down the centre like that, had the drive shaft scraping over the top of the curve.
He's looking for the fastest lap out there, the first lap of the qualifying session.
We just tried to take a half a second off at 1 and 2 by shortcutting the first part of it.
I'll tell you what, green sector's already coming up for Jeff Connell now. Here's another young gun out of sim racing as well, the number 4. Hasn't he been a find to join the series this year?
Absolutely.
He is fighting it out in the category 2, Connell.
139.75. He's got nearly 3/10 on Josh Thomas.
Third in the championship, and he's only following up by 45 points. So he's not too far behind.
Brock Payne currently 18th, but he's on one. Well and truly on one with 2 purple seconds.
Brock Payne's just warming up.
So numbers. Let's talk numbers, Mr. Kavanagh.
With winning, Brock Payne, 8 on the trot. He is 8 wins in a row. So
I remember we were adding them up at the bend. I couldn't remember if it was 8 or 9.
Clean sweep at Queensland. Clean sweep at the Shell V-Power Motorsport Park at the Bend. And what can he do at Winton Motor Raceway? He got himself a win earlier in the year, but what I like when I look at some of the results here is we've basically had 16 races. He has won 9 of the 16. He has come second 5 times as well.
And he's just gone fastest and absolutely bombed in a 37.11 on his second flyer. So he's 1.2 seconds faster than anybody on track right now.
So I'll put this to you too. He has qualified number 1 twice out of 4 races as well. 50% of the time he is the number 1 qualifier.
He needs to improve on those numbers.
There is a guy out there though that hasn't made it to every round this year. That is a Steve Devjack.
Yes, we missed him at the Bend.
We did miss him.
And QR from memory.
Yes, he wasn't. No, he did make QR. I think he had a couple of moments up there at QR, unfortunately, at Queensland Raceway. Morgan Park, he was super impressive.
Brock's on 2 purples again.
He got a little bit of trouble at Sydney. I think he pushed himself around a little bit. So, but he had a clean sweep at Morgan Park. Dev Jack was number 1 qualifier, and he's been doing a fair bit of driver training with some of the young guns in the field as well. So
former supercar racer.
Did some Super 2, yes. So quite established behind the wheel, and some interesting ways to how he approaches the weekend.
Brock Payne, he's on 2 purples, looking to improve on a 37.1. Doesn't. It's still a 37.1, but like it was a 37.12. His best lap was a 37.11.
I think super consistent.
Wow! He's just monstered the curves through 1. That's aggressive.
Does the aggression pay off though? We're going to have to check these lap times.
I'm thinking with these cars through there, maybe not so much. Like it unsettled the car a lot more than it needed to be. Look, we'll see what this lap does. If he goes purple in the first sector, then I'll just shut up.
Well, we'll have to wait and see if Devjack goes. Bowden in second position at the moment. Let's have a look at the Hi-Tec Oils replay here. And look, he is aggressive over that curb,
So
but it's this one in 2.
Yeah.
But watch this on the outside. That is a massive tyre barrier there.
Yeah.
And you get sucked into
that's
that.
where Bowden
you
did
end up like
yesterday.
Rob Bowden yesterday, where we had patchy conditions, where it was dry in some spots, damp in others, and he just hit a puddle and went a bit wide.
So that little moment there has actually only cost him a 1/10.5 to the first sector.
Only.
But I think it did kill a little bit of the speed, just a little bit. A little bit of underbody, or is that a rag or something?
Is it some wrap under the exhaust? Might be some heat wrap.
It might be the heat wrap on the exhaust. Yeah, that's more.
I think so.
likely.
I mean, naturally aspirated 13B. They're pretty much in road trim in terms of the engine combination of these things. You can't do anything to them. They flash the ECU, so they've all got the exact same tune. Like we said, Josh Thomas, the car he's in, had plates on it 2 weeks ago. So you basically take all the interior out as much as you can for a race car.
Put a cage
in it, racing seat. There isn't much else to do to them, really.
79 slowing here, so we were just watching with that material flapping around underneath the car.
That's Brett Thompson, the Aussie Outdoor Sheds and Patios RXA.
They've probably just been moving over for some faster guys coming through there by the looks of it, because it looks like it's getting back up to speed now. So Payne 37.11. So that lap that he had the moment over the curb actually blew out to a 39.23. So it definitely wasn't his best lap, Matt.
Well, plenty of greens up on the board as well as out there in the around Winton Motor Raceway as well. As you can see, spring well and truly underway here in Victoria. All the crews sitting there on the side. They'll have the stopwatches out. They'll be looking on. Rob Bowden, well, he's fighting in the championship actually. He has only got a 5-point deficit to Brock Payne, so we'll see how they continue that on. Ivan Vartagiato, the only South Australian in the field this weekend, who's back for the fight. He's another one that's come out of the sim world. Got really excited about Formula RX at the start of the year. Ended up leasing a car. Now he's built his own.
Only took me 3 rounds to get my head around his name. And whoop, okay, is that Ivan there or is that Deep
No, that's
Jack?
not Ivan. That's he's just waiting for some cars to go by. No, Ivan, you'll see the definitely got the green and black on there. They were chasing a couple of gremlins with the car yesterday. Actually, I saw the spark plugs out of that. A lot of people hovered over the engine bay, but they didn't seem too concerned by it either. So I think they had that under control.
That was Ivan because that was Dev Jack just going through there in the 69 machine. So there's actually 3 JDT building team cars out there this weekend, like the 3 TFH cars. I asked Brett Thomas nicely yesterday with the 4th car being built, can you reverse the colours on that and make it more predominantly yellow and reverse it for me? Because 3's bad enough, 4's going to be a nightmare.
And what do we got? We got 3, 33, and what's his other car?
23.
Oh, so they're all 3s. At least we know, we can tell the difference there. That's that one.
So Josh was actually fastest in P3, he was telling us yesterday afternoon, and then alluded to the problems he was having in 1 and 2 in the wet conditions. It took him until the 3rd practice to figure out how to turn the traction control off.
Yeah, well, it kept, I think they take the wiring out, but it came on for some reason, whatever was wrong. Obviously a new build car. He said it was much nicer to drive without it.
Yeah, he went fastest, he was real happy with it.
Number 11, that's Paul Spateri in the Coachman's in Warwick. Obviously, way up there in Morgan Park. He's come way south to be part of it this weekend.
Yeah, that's some travelling.
A little travelling there. Number 11, he's down there 16.
You're taking that one. You're taking
I said nothing about spinning.
That is the class you were talking about. That is the best.
No, that's a different car. That's not the number 11. That's the 99 of black.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Oh, well, you can take it anyway.
Oh, I'm getting the blame for it up here in the commentary box. He's done it on his own accord, though. No contact made. I suppose one of the things they've been lucky with this season, too, in the Formula RX8 class, we'll have a look at a Hi-Tec Oars replay. Just gone a little bit wide there, going around 3.
Couldn't have timed that any
himself
better.
out, and you see the C11 behind there,
Yeah,
Spateri. So he's come by, and we'll just put the pedal to the metal and drop the clutch as we get that car back on track. Here's Ivan. The Greenio entry. The Serpent himself. Marta Giardo. He's been quick. Every new car, though, you know, has those little gremlins, and that's what he's facing over last round and this round. And with a new car build, obviously, you're finding a few things. That was like a TFH high
that was one of the TFH boys just running a little bit wide there.
Stacey Vickers, obviously one of the co-founders of the Formula RX8 this year.
That's not a hard car to identify.
Yeah, really enjoying the racing. I think he's more enjoying the social aspect of this category, because he says it's great to be there every night.
With Ayrton Philippi. Out for a Saturday drive.
He's looking a bit more sedate at this part of the track, isn't he? Head down to turn 11.
There has been some changes to some of the curbs. I talked about it. Oh, that was...
Oh, there's 2 of them. They're following each other.
So that'll be the 23 of Diesel. He didn't race with us at the bend. He was celebrating his birthday up in Queensland. So this was the 99 going around.
That's Lack.
Oh, actually, no, it's not.
There at 19.
I think it's the next one through going through.
Payne still leading us at the moment with a 137.11. Got a 0.2 of a second advantage over Jeff Connell, who's currently sitting 3rd in the championship. Rob Bowden, who's within 5 points of leading the championship. Well, he's on a 138.2, but coming back after some artificial, or some, you know, outside damage, I suppose, some skeletal damage on that car.
Connell's lap was done on lap 8. So he's actually done that pretty late in the run to be within 0.2 of Payne. So that's a good sign for the rest of the weekend.
A I wonder whether Rob Bowden hasn't really had an instant here. We normally see him come out in the under 2 litre class in the Super TT in previous years. Might just be holding back a little bit. He's very good at really looking at a championship, holding his composure as he slides it into turn 3 as well. So
Devjack's just
he's
PB'd.
pushing.
Devjack's just PB'd the first sector. He's currently in 5th. As we watch Payne still in control out in front by 2/10. With just on, 10 seconds to the checkered flag. So this will definitely be the last run to the checkered for everyone. And at the moment, it's advantage Payne. Looking for what you were saying, he's had 2 poles this year, so this will be number 3.
Well, can he hold on to that one? We've still got, well, the checkered flag is out, so he's got this lap to finish at the moment. He might make it 3 out of 5.
Connell's actually gone fastest in the 3rd sector, so he's stronger in that last section of the track.
Payne definitely sounds like he is content with the time that he has laid down. Connell doesn't improve on that either, so Connell won't go faster. You think Payne, Etten, just crossing the finish line here at the moment. Doesn't look like he's at full pace, so he might have wound it back just a little bit there as well. Rob Bowden's still out on track. He's currently sitting 3rd. Potentially, he could go a little bit quicker. He's got a green sector 1, but it's not looking good in sector number 2. He might have rolled out of that as well and expected to start off the 2nd row. We'll just have to wait and find out if some of these cars will finish this lap with the checkered flag out in the qualifying session for the Formula RX8. Supported by TFH High, Rob Bowden just goes across the line. Green sector 3, but won't improve enough to get himself up into that front row in 2nd. So he'll have to stay in the 2nd row and 3rd positions. We have a look at the Formula RX8 qualifying results. Brock Payne, well, it's 3 from 5 now with Jeff Connell trying to fight into this championship out of 3rd place. We'll start off the grid alongside of him. Rob Bowden on the 2nd row with Ivan Vartagiato. Then it's Steve Devjack and Josh Thomas. Thomas Derwin, Diesel Thomas will be on the 4th row. Braden Taylor and Etten Philippi in the 5th row. Great run there from Etten, really. Back Stacey Vickers, Liam Hall, Brett Thompson, Shad Hassan in 14th, and it's Justin Lewis. Surprising to see him that far down, Justin Lewis in 15th. So he's doing a lot of work behind the scenes as well. He might, he's a very busy man, but the Yellow Express car. Do you think it's the moustache slowing him down at Justin Lewis?
It's a shocker. It's a dead set shocker, my friend.
Oh, it'll be blowing around in the breeze. Well, I'm sure we'll have him on camera at some time this weekend. It seems to find him.
Not further back than we used to seeing Justin. He struggled a little bit at the bend, but sort of came right towards the end of the weekend.
Do you know what he told me? He said it's because the quality of driving that has come into the Formula RX8s, where he was dominating a couple of seasons ago, or last season he dominated in the series we had last year. This year, not so much, and he puts it down to the talent coming through, especially these young guys, whether it be the sim races, the guys who have come back, like you say, Steve Devjack, who's had a little bit of Super 2 experience and things like that.
2 of the sim races in the top 4 in qualifying, Vantagiato in P4 and Connell in P2. So, yeah.
Brock Payne, awesome. I mean, you can't deny the talent that he does have behind the wheel, and this was like Josh Thomas. He's not going to need that later in the weekend because he's got to swap cars.
So what he does
to make sure
he doesn't want to do that through the rest of the weekend.
At least get back to the pits. And is this? No,
it was on board with Ayrton Senna.
I think that's just something frozen.
Ayrton Senna, Ayrton Philippi.
Well, you know, it's funny enough, going and talking with his family, they're not a racing family, as in it's not like Dad raced and everyone else raced. He's got into racing and they've got right behind him, which is great. Let's head down to pit lane, though, with our pole sitter.
Well, he looks relaxed. Brock Payne, top qualifying. I believe it's the 3rd round on the trot that you've taken out pole position. Doing Team TFH High proud, aren't you?
Yeah, thank you, mate. Appreciate it. That was a close one, that. Connell was right on me. I had to push every lap there, so it's lucky he got a good lap in early and could just manage it from there. But all the TFH crew, everyone preparing the cars, doing a great job. Josh and Diesel both did a fantastic job, so looking forward to the races.
Best of luck, mate. Over to you, Mel.
Jeff Connell, P2, only 2/10 in it. You nearly had him there.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Then I didn't realise that, but yeah, no, it was a good session. Didn't nail the perfect lap, so it was a perfect lap. Could have been better, but everyone probably say the same. So yeah, we're pretty happy with that. Never been here before. Only probably 8 laps of dry running yesterday, so not bad for learning a track.
Oh, well, hopefully we see you get faster and faster then.
Yeah, hope so. Fingers crossed. Thank you.
Not bad for learning a track. Second, behind Brock Payne. We're seeing how fast he has been the last couple of years.
He is relatively easy. The bend, I was still trying to figure out the track at the end of the weekend. And I was only commentating.
Brock Payne, I think he got pushed pretty yesterday. Josh Thomas was fastest in practice yesterday, and considering they share the pits together and got a common TFH hire sticker on there, I thought Brock Payne might have said, you know what, I've really got to lay it out today and see how he goes. So that'll be interesting. He'll get himself an extra point now, which will put him 6 points in front in the championship over Rob Bowden. So they'll get 1 point for number 1 qualifier there. 3 out of 5, so that puts him better than a bit of a 50-50. As you can tell, there's look at the breeze coming across the track at the moment, though, Jamie. It's really picked up, hasn't it? A bit like yesterday, and that's where we saw the weather conditions change yesterday. We had the huge breeze and you know, the clouds coming over. Let's head down to pit lane where the breeze has picked up, Jared.
Rob Bowden, we had some struggles yesterday, but you got a great smile on your face and 3rd place in qualifying.
Yeah, mate, I'll take that after the weekend we've had so far. Doesn't look pretty, but she's still straight and seemingly fast, so we can build on that for the weekend. I usually race better than I qualify, so we can always go forward from here.
After that tumble with the tyre barriers yesterday, how hard was it to get yourself in the zone today?
A little bit. I've done heaps of laps around here. It's the first real mistake I've ever made around here, so it's kind of hard to just turn it off, but you give the first lap a bit of a wide berth and then dig in from there, so we're all right.
We're looking forward to race 1.
Cheers, Jared. Thanks, mate.
It's not the first mistake he's made around here. He got to get matey with me, so it's the second mistake he's made. Rob Bowden, he's a character if you get to go down there in the RX8 pits. Can remember at the bend, he blew an engine up in practice. TFHI lent an engine crane. I think it was one of the Harris boys lent him an engine.
Yeah, they ended up back in Adelaide, didn't they?
Yeah, so he got out in racing and ended up second behind racing. He came second every race behind Brock Payne. Don't know, but I think that's still a borrowed engine in that car this week, so it's getting a few Ks wrapped up on it.
Not a bad way to go motor racing. All right, Superkarts. Now, this is what I know as essentially a supercar. The whole category is called Superkarts. These are the 250s, the big boys. 250 International and 250 National. The only difference is basically 1 cylinder. 250 International, twin cylinders, dominated by the European chassis. Probably more currently the Andersons and the PVPs are 2 that I know about, going back probably a long, long time ago. Zip chassis out of England with very, very strong. Martin Hines was the originator of the Zip chassis. I don't know if they're strong or still even available now, but certainly the Andersons and the PVPs. There's also another European chassis called MS. I'm not too sure if there's any of those out there. So, twin cylinder 250cc International. You're talking 90 plus horsepower, Matt, out of these European specs. Working on them. They're really, really awkward to move around. They'll be a lot heavier. The water-cooled twin-cylinder, 6-speed sequential gearboxes, and the 250 National class is a single-cylinder version of the 250. So the likes of CR250 Honda motorcycle engine, dirt bike engine, will be sort of probably the most dominant across the National class runners. So the engines in the 250 International class, you're looking at the Rotax twins, PVP, VM, BRC. And with the National stuff, you'll have some of the likes of Honda, Yamaha. I'm not too sure if TM do a 250 engine, but that's where sort of the majority of them are. So lap times this morning in practice, I saw a 120.74 from Nicholas Shembry. So a 120.74, 4 seconds quicker than the in a Formula 3 car here in 2019. So that's fast.
That's very quick.
So 90 horsepower. So I don't know what the top speed is here, but some of the biggest circuits around Australia, Phillip Island and those with the big straights, you're looking at speeds over 250 kilometres an hour with your bum an inch off the ground.
Yeah, I was going to say. It's pretty close, isn't it?
You can see that bodywork-wise...
moves around a bit.
A big moment.
That's the 45 then of Shembri.
That was Shembri.
Fastest card out there at the moment. Already done a 120.68.
120.68.
That's early.
So
we're only getting in the groove.
That was one lap.
He's still got a purple sector in one.
Oh, he's on it here. Again, really aggressive. These things literally will be like flying an F-16. Like,
look at him grabbing as it slides out. He's really got to correct the steering. Takes it in stride.
Did he pull out of that lap? Yeah, I reckon he has. Definitely has. All right, so he's done a 120.68. He's actually got an issue. He's put his hand up. So whether it's searching for gears or... he's got it back up and running by the looks of it
just
now.
Let someone know to go by.
Yeah,
Maybe make himself a little bit of room.
Just get himself a little bit of a break. So, all right, kart number 1. Ilya Harpus. And that's an Anderson chassis running 250 International. So a lot bigger wings on these karts, Matt. So there's a lot bigger aerodynamic devices on these, and a lot more horsepower. And they'll be well in excess of 200 kilometres an hour on this run down to turn number 1.
Yeah, see that. It's a lot more blue to the track. Not sure if it's a different aggression style as it's run around, or they're just a bit more happy with the setup.
Right, so Shembri's back on another lap now, so he's fastest in international. First of the national runners is the number 32 kart of Marcel Marino Chamorro, Anderson chassis, and that'll be one of the single-cylinder 250s. That rearward shot there with the kart just drifting through that sequence is really, really cool to watch. 44, it's Paul Clark and another Anderson running in the international category.
Similarly, Shembri there, 24.21. That's the fastest to sector 1 too. By 4 tenths of a second.
He's just purpled the first sector. So, geez, is there a 19 in here somewhere? Whoa, Harpus just gone second quickest. He's gone exactly to the 10,000ths of a second. 120.6860, first and second. So this card on screen has just gone joint first. So if it stays like this, who gets the pole? Yeah, but Shembri's in behind him, actually chasing him down here.
Two purple sectors. Shembri, can he do it?
20.15.
No, goes half a second faster.
There's a 19 in here. I reckon there's a 19 coming.
Harpus. Sorry, Harpus went 120.1. Shembri is still... Well, I'm just having a look here because the 45, I would have assumed he went over the finish line because he's just
yeah, that's a timing issue. There's that might correct shortly, but
unless
like Harpus,
he went off out of
because Shembri was chasing him down.
Yeah.
So what's going on there? That's weird. Okay, so 120.15.
Look out close. Look out close.
And this is just qualifying. This isn't racing.
No.
Actually, one of Harper's actually pulled out to let him go by because you don't want to get held up if you're on a hot lap. But obviously the one is very, very quick as well. So that's going to be good to look forward to later on.
119 from the Raceway. So that's come up now. 119.49.
A 119.49. Well, there's the 19. I don't know what the lap record is here. That's corrected again.
Shembri
is now back to third, still on that 120.6860.
Clark has come through in the 72, which is Timmy.
Yeah, is there a transponder issue maybe for Shembri? Because he was well and truly on a lap, and a 19 flashed up on the screen momentarily. Anyway, it's fast.
It's quick. No surprising. See, it looked like to us like he was catching Harpus. So,
as I said before earlier on, with the 250 class and Superkarts in New Zealand, there were a couple of racetracks that Shembri's actually down on pit lane. Is there a red? No, they just on pit lane.
Qualifying session, still 7 minutes left. See our Legend cars starting to get prepared for their race number 1. Actually, they had qualifying this morning because they will try and squeeze in 5 races over the weekend. They're a busy little category as well. Can't wait to have them out on track. Probably not much too different in size, but it looks of it, except you sit a bit further off the ground.
So the one was doing a tyre bleed by the looks of it, which is really unusual to see in karts. So coming back to what I was saying before, a couple of the smaller circuits over in New Zealand, Superkarts at various stages actually had the outright lap records. I'd be surprised if that wasn't the case here at a couple of the smaller tracks around Australia.
Especially with a lot of corners, I think. If you don't have so much of a
But you're only talking 250cc, a quarter of a litre, 90 horsepower. Like, that's big horsepower to weight ratio. I think with a supercar, you're sort of in that half-ton. Is the Anderson of Brett Burville running in the 250 national class. So that's the single cylinder 250cc two-stroke.
That'll be the fastest one too for the national class at the moment there with that 128.81. Currently sitting 4th overall though. Shembry, Harpers and Clark all in the pits at the moment making those minor adjustments.
Okay, so Shembry's 119.49 has just popped back up on the timing. And he's fastest in all 3 sectors. So that lap we were watching, that was actually the case. So sub 120, and he's 6/10 faster than Harpers in the 1, and they are both on pit lane. So within 4 laps, they've done their fastest laps and parked. 119.49. That is seriously quick.
Very, very quick, isn't it, to get around here? That's covering 3 kilometres with 12 turns in it.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Very, very impressive. These supercarts now. We've got these in the pit today. Leaves a couple left out on track.
So the 44 of Paul Clark, another Anderson chassis, which are they're one of the more dominant chassis in the world of supercarts. Clark was on a PB to the first sector, didn't improve in 2 and 3, so he's on a 129.1010. PB's the first sector. Watching cart number 39 at the moment, Brett Burville, who continues to be fastest in the national category with a 128.8140.
Just looking at Paul Clark. He's going the fastest to sector 1, his personal best. So he'll be pushing on there. We'll just wait to see if the sector 2 lights up in yellow as well, potentially. Yep, so that's going to be his PB to sector 2 as well for Clark, one of the international chassis.
Should get into the 128s on this lap, you would think.
Might even improve. Does show, obviously not running up near our front runners there. There's still 7.2 second difference, but improving on his times nonetheless.
Oh, he's got a little bit of understeer to contend with there through the final corner. Probably not the happiest in the handling department.
Can really hear him changing gears now as he heads down the main straight.
128.75. He improves, goes to 4th, and will be 4th in international. But yeah, it's in the steering category, it's not happy. It's got serious amounts of understeer at the moment, especially through that last corner.
So Shembry's now made his way back out on track as well in the 45 as Harpers and Clark still in pit lane.
119.49 from rights to see how fast he can go potentially. So again, tyre-wise, I'm probably going back a few years now, but Dunlop was certainly one of the more popular brands with supercar tyres. Technology and that would have changed dramatically. Here is Shembry. Watch this car, man, just bouncing around there. That rear wing assembly moving around quite dramatically there. Hard on the brakes. He is on attack again. So Shembry looking to try and line one up here and go faster potentially. Clark's gone PB to the second sector with a 31.3 down to the line. Can he improve again? Coming off a 28.75. Goes to a 28.48 and does improve but stays in 4th ahead of the 2 national spec karts, Burville and Marino Chamor.
Shembry, the 45.
Right, it went 24.217 to the first sector. And the only reason it hasn't gone green or purple is he's done a 24.211. So he's on a pretty good lap. Second sector didn't come up again.
Must be having something with a transponder
Must be having a transponder issue, but potentially sub 20 as quick, but the time doesn't actually come up on the scoring again.
Well, we'll wait and see whether we get this first sector on this one. Now we see the aggression going back into this.
Okay, went 19.88, just come up on the timing. So he's 4/10 slower than his best. So whether he's made a change and just going out there to try it.
He'll come around at the moment. You should see a Sector 1 time come up in just a moment.
Oh, that is full commitment through there.
Wow.
Oh,
Little wiggle
around under brakes. So they do have front disc brakes. So they have disc brakes across the fronts as well. So that actually had a little lock-up going as he was trying to get it turned, and it just chirped across the front. Went 24.217 again. I don't think that splits current. Let's check this out. Oh, so he lost the rear.
Yeah, and then he's got on the brakes and it's kept moving around.
Man, that's physical. You're going to know you've driven one of these after a weekend.
You reckon you'd have some serious padding in the seat, wouldn't you? You know what can happen in a normal kart when you get thrown around in terms of bruising on the ribs.
You've got to wear rib protectors. I made that mistake last year. I just got back into karting after 30 years and we did a bit of endurance karting with the Tika guys out of sort of Newcastle, Canberra, Lithgow, and I must have hurt a rib at, I can't remember, Dubbo, and it didn't recover after that. And I wore a rib protector after that, and it didn't do anything. At Tamworth, I actually had to get out of the car. I was hurting that bad. This year, I've done a couple of rounds and had the rib protector on from day one, and it is so much better. But they are so physical. Like, that kart compared to what I'm used to would be ×4. It'd have to be.
Well, the checkered flag out in this qualifying sessions. It looks like we've got a lonely Shembry out on track. He'll finish his lap off, but the checkered flag has come out for qualifying in our 250cc Superkart section. It looks like Shembry will be our #1 qualifier, the 119.49. 0.6 of a second over his closest rival, Harpus.
And the fastest lap of any vehicle here this weekend.
That is the fastest lap we've seen so far, but we do have the top 10 shootout coming your way. That's not too far away.
I don't know that we're going to see
5 seconds.
I don't think we're going to see a 19 from a TA2. Look, track conditions, it's not bad.
I think we're going to see the TA2 slide a little bit more than that.
Yeah,
get out there and get pretty aggressive.
Yeah, I don't think Josh Haynes' ribs is going to be as sore as Shembry's after that.
Oil's Super Series. It's the penultimate round for our main show, which is obviously our Legend Cars Australia, which are out next, our Formula RX8s, our Australian XL Series, and of course our TA2 muscle cars, which will have a top 10 qualifying shootout after lunchtime. But we've got race #1 about to get underway for our Legend Cars Australia. As you can see them lined up in pit lane and eager to get out. South Australia last round. Much wider track, but we got up to 8 wide as they went into turn #1. Here, I don't think we're going to see that, just purely because we're going to run out of track.
Yeah, okay, so turn 1 here is very, very different to just about any other racetrack in Australia because you've got that left-right combination off the start-finish straight. So you've got to concede at a point that you're not going to go through there 3 wide for a start. You might do it in the Legend, 2 wide, yes. 3 wide, probably not so much. So I don't know that it'll be so frantic to there. To 3, I think it's going to be a little bit different. But I really love these things. And if we get the opportunity, I would love to go and have a stint.
Yeah, well,
Tony.
Mate, you could have had one this weekend.
I have driven the New Zealand equivalent of an Aussie racing car. Well, which was probably more similar to these cars, actually.
You should have made a phone call to Dylan. He's not here this weekend.
Yeah, where's Dylan? At Pukekohe.
I do believe Dylan Thomas's son might be doing some supercross or motocross racing. But I believe he's going to be back. He had a great time of these in South Australia.
He so enjoyed himself.
So we'll get him out for their first race. Rob Hogan's going to lead us. He qualified #1. Brendan Hourigan second. Then Scotty Morgan and Shane Tate. Benny Goodrich and Billy Filligan. Good to see the Irishman back here in the pack in row #3. That's Scotty Melville and Ryan Pring. Now, Ryan Pring leading the championship at the moment. He's got himself about 25 points lead over Shane Tate. these guys do 5 races per meet, and there's a perfect round, there's going to be 500 points up for grabs. So you can't afford to have a bad weekend, Ryan Pring, when you chase the championship. Now, I did catch up with him earlier in the weekend too, and some of the questions were, coming into our next round is the final round of the Australian Championship, but it's also the Aussie title. Now, Ryan Pring has an Aussie title previously. What is the focus when it comes to that race? Is it, you know, if your championship holds together this round, is, you know, where do you put yourself? Do you put it all on the line there, or do you decide, you know what, I want a championship out of this one?
So we should have 2 onboard cameras. I think Brendan Hurrigan and Hayden Williams, pretty sure that was Hayden we were just on board with then. So, fantastic category.
Great to have the crowd rolling in here on a Saturday at Winton Motor Raceway. Beautiful weather, because it's not super sunny. It's getting glimpses, but the nice breeze across there. It's not
coming from Queensland.
Cold,
this is not beautiful weather.
It's good.
Matt.
It's gorgeous.
You come from Darwin.
If it's not minus, then I'm warm. It's coming out of Canberra now.
Yeah, well,
you got to acclimatise. Look, there's our Hyundai safety car leading him out. It's a nice little 4-hour
So
drive.
Rob Hogan qualified on the pole with a 135.98, and he actually poled by 3/10, which is actually quite a big gap around here. And for the legends, we're used to seeing the top 10 usually covered by about 3/10. So on board, I think that is Hayden Williams.
Now, Lockie Ward not in behind the wheel this week.
Yes, we noticed that.
He's doing drive. Remember he borrowed a car last time? Yep. Well, the driver said, I need my car back on racing at Winton. His new car still hasn't come off the boat. So he is doing driver training this weekend with some of our young guns coming up to the pack. Rolling start, though, for the Legend Cars Australia. Race number 1 about to get underway here at Winton Motor Raceway. And let's see them battle it out into turn number 1. How many can we squeeze? Number 1 at the moment there will slot himself into second.
That is certainly a lot more sedate than we're used to with the legends down through that sequence of corners. So down into 3 you'll start seeing them fan out further through. So we've got 4 wide down into 3. But this is a motor racing circuit that is just about perfect for these cars.
Yeah, it really does suit the style of racing that they have, and the closest, I suppose, we're not going to let Adelaide with a long straight, but we did see them go very wide. Unfortunately,
15's had an issue. Robert Coulthard. So that was the car Woody was in at the previous round at the bend.
Yeah, it looks like
so
that.
Robert's had an issue because he just
Nathan
rejoined
Prito as well as at the back of the pack of the 30
cars.
now. He wasn't as fast in qualifying as we expect from Nathan Prito, so maybe they've had something happen there in the 8.4 Media car as well.
Yeah, they were a little bit further back through the field. Back on board here with Williams. So out in front is the 46.
So Rob Hogan, well, he's just dominating, really. Ryan Pring's got the green wheels back on for us. He did that in the last round as well. It makes it a bit easier for us.
Definitely,
Triple 3.
Very easy.
Now, he's in the championship. Shane Tate is the next one along. Now, he will be in the mix here in the 147.
Blue car in third.
Yeah,
He's right there.
Budget entry car.
All right, so Pring's got some positions to try and make. He's 7th. Tate is 3rd. Completion of lap number 1.
Right, Tate making a move as well.
Got the first one sorted out. Now let's go to war. Goes by Hurrigan with the 1 on the side of the race car.
Oh,
he got a bit of curb, but it didn't actually hurt him that much. But definitely a big correction on the wheel to get it sort of straightened back up and not get more of the curb.
Billy Finnegan just behind there too. You can see good at the Irishman back. Went home, did a little bit of racing over there, I do believe, as well.
So this is on board. This should be Hurrigan.
This will be Hurrigan.
Third, yep. The current number 1. So that's the second of our onboards. All of these cars on exactly the same Nankang Legends spec tyre.
Aren't they a family, you know? The old man said, oh, it's not like having the stock car out there, is it? Got the Legend cars out there with the boys this weekend, and look, they're just having a heap of fun here. I think they're really happy with the Australian title last year. And not quite making it up there when it came to the championship this year. Had a couple of good moments there, Brendan Hurrigan. We saw him get a win at Queensland Raceway in a couple of races.
So that was up at turn 7. Oh, that's such a cool shot with the drone.
There we go, 2 wide. There's plenty of room for them there as they come out of turn number 9. These little straights. It's probably not quite enough for them to tuck and take advantage of some of the aero down such a short straight that they really need to drive. And this is another one of these categories that don't have a lot of horsepower, so it is about that momentum and that drive that they can maintain through the corners.
Depending on whether they're running the 4-cylinder, the older engine, or the newer 3-cylinder, and that's at 120 to 130 horsepower range. A little bit of a weight difference between. There's more 3-cylinder cars out there now as the newer cars continue to come in. And as we alluded to at the bend, having spoken to Tony Ward, Wardy's biggest problem at the moment is trying to get new cars in fast enough because there's such a backlog and a huge order list from 29 other countries that race these cars over 6 continents.
Yeah, you'll see a lot of them too that take on the Speedway Challenge as well. So it's the same platform car, obviously some minor changes to suspension and tyres.
Yeah, they run with us up in Queensland.
Basically, it's the same car.
Back on board with the one. So Hogan's just disappearing.
Horrigan with a big movement there.
It's all over the 147 it takes.
Oh, the 147, it's taped together too. You can see on the left-hand side the running repairs throughout the season.
But while these two are sort of tying each other up, Hogan's actually able to get away here, and he's got a 2-second lead. Something we're not used to seeing with these legend cars, that with the drafting is so important for them.
Look at Billy in the background. Just sitting there in the 86, waiting for his moment. Fourth position at the moment. I know his family like to watch if they can, if they get a chance to tune in. A bit hard sometimes with the live stream if you got to get the VPN sorted out. So make sure you can watch your son racing back here. Made his way out to Australia, and it seems to be where he's made his home too.
Hayden Williams. Yeah, so he's back in the 8th position, so he's up inside the top 10.
He's looking at our current championship leader, Ryan Pring, too. It looks like he was just making a move possibly on Goodrich.
Pretty static because he's still in that 7th position where he's pretty much been from the start of the race.
Just wait on that because I know we might have an update in a second, but it looked like he was trying to overtake that there. Hasn't got that done, unfortunately. Here we go, Horrigan. Let's get back on board in 3rd position at the moment and trying to hunt down Tate, who's 2nd in our championship. Now, Tate did get himself a win at Queensland Raceway, so he's been a while between drinks. Horrigan. Rob Hogan has won quite a few this year. Currently sitting 3rd in the championship now. He is sitting 70 points behind, but a good weekend here could really make a difference in this final round.
Well, there's so many points up for grab.
There's mathematically, there's probably about 12 people in the championship. Probably our 3 main contenders are 1, 2, 3, which is Ryan Pring, Shane Tate and Rob Hogan. But currently at the moment, the 27 has just gone off, and that's Nathan Locke out of Queensland in the Back to Health chiropractic entry.
Yes.
Smoke too.
That's a mechanical issue. They'll have some work to do, and they'll be going to see Tony Ward for the
he's got the parts van.
He's
got the parts van, that's right. It's like the Snap-on van, isn't it? You go in there and just start buying things.
It's got everything.
Swipe the credit card. All right, let's get back on board Hayden Williams. Currently sitting in 8th position now. Pringer's got that move done now, moved up to 6th. So Williams looking at Goodridge right in front of the 97 car.
Just might have taken Pring maybe a couple of laps just to get tyre temperatures up, and that'll be one of the bigger changes that you can do obviously across the cars. Different tyre pressures, just making bar adjustments, shock adjustments, and they do react to them.
You've got 8 laps out there as well, so you also know Pring will be like 19 potentially. He's very young.
Yeah, he's only a young kid.
So carry the fitness over.
So Williams has actually gone PB to the first sector. Pring just eclipsed that. So Pring's got some pace and is starting to work his way forward. So he should be right in behind Morgan. So look for the red number 16. There's Pring there. Morgan just went through shot. So Pring's on a little bit of a charge there, but he's not as close to.
I was going to say, I look like he was a lot closer to Morgan last time. Something might have happened to him in the second. We'll wait and see the time. There might be an issue there. These 3, they were glued together at the moment. Tate, Horrigan and Finnegan.
It was only half a second, but that gap was definitely more than that, which we just saw. Back on board, yes, as you said, Horrigan. Back up onto the back bumper of the 147 of Tate.
Yeah, Pring's had a shocker when it comes to sector 2. He's almost, he's more than a second slower than the other. So he's had a moment.
Pring's had a moment there. We thought he was closing the gap, and it actually extended.
Look at these 3. Just waiting. Tate holding on at the moment into second position. Hogan, well, he's opened up a nice little gap now, out to 3 seconds. Here we go, Hurricane with a move down the inside, coming into turn number 1. They're too wide. How late will he leave it? Let's have a look. Oh, about 60 metres out, like you say. Billy Finnegan just right in the background. Hurricane now up into second position.
Yeah, so Pring lost over a second. Oh, Finnegan down the inside of Tate. Wasn't quite close enough. So Pring lost a whole second on that last lap. Inside the top 6, but he's lost some momentum must have had a little mistake or an issue out the backside of the circuit that we didn't get to see. Advantage.
Well, Hayden Williams, look at him in 8th position. He's all over the back of Goodridge now. So Goodridge was up, obviously, into 6th position in front of Pring. He's already lost 1 now. He needs to watch out because Williams is working hard.
Have to get him as close to the garage as
He's trying to get there. He's trying to get in and having a look.
There's the TA2s.
All right. So have a look at our TA2. Our TA2 are about to come out for their top 10 shootout after lunchtime. They're getting prepared down in the pits. We're not too far away from that. But our Legend Cars Australia, race number 1 here. They're on lap 6 of 8. They've got 2.5 laps remaining. And here we go. Tate now in 3rd position, fighting out in this championship because he is currently sitting 25 points behind Ryan Pring. There we go.
I'm surprised.
Right on the back though, because have a look. Pring's now all over the back of Morgan. Watch Billy at the end here. Tate might not be close enough. Pring making a move in the background on Morgan. Billy Finnegan will take a move down the inside. I thought they were going to go 3 points. Billy decides to go on the inside on the grass. Oh, he's using a bit of bitumen now to try and get some drive. Tate's going to try and drive around the outside. Billy's going to cover him off the inside. Ryan Pring gets a move. Now he's on the back of Tate. This is helping him in the championship. There's not going to be too much difference in points.
Finnegan, the classic Irish slide job. He was committed on that one, wasn't he?
Well
and but it was definitely committed. So Pring on the back of Tate. So Finnegan effectively there is just taking points away from Tate.
That'll mean a 3-point difference.
Yeah, it's nothing.
Nothing for this race. Yeah, so look, it'll close it down to 22 points in the championship.
Oh, a little wiggle there for Finnegan trying to get power down, and Tate's right back there with him. But here comes Ryan Pring. Fastest lap of the race. Pring just went 35.80 on that last lap. Fastest in the 3rd sector. So Hogan out in front, 3.3 seconds, so that gap's just stabilised a little bit now over the last lap or so. First race of the weekend for the Australian Legends. As ever, always entertaining, but this will be one of the more dominant wins of the championship this year. We're not used to seeing someone running away and hiding, and now we've pretty much got a 4-way battle for 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th.
Well, Goodridge coming up on the back of Morgan as well. He seems to be just dropping off the pace just a little bit. Billy Finnegan has another look on the inside here, but Hurricane's going to have nothing. And now look at Pring. Tate, it's 3 wide now as they head down to turn number 3.
Oh, there's something
Pring on the outside. He's going to go around Tate.
Wow. Finnegan just mistimed that run through 1 and 2, and it sucked all the exit speed on the approach down to 3, and Pring's right on his back bumper, but he's gone around Tate, so extends his championship lead.
28 points at this point.
There you go.
Provisionally. We'll wait and see how they go. Final lap 2 for them. They're going to have to take a risk on this one if they want to make it stick. Pring looks pacey, does he? Coming out of 5.
Finnegan looked like he ran wide, but it was just a different line more than anything because it didn't actually hurt it through that sequence.
Oh, no, backwards.
Duckworth in the 10.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for Mark Duckworth, the Australian Labor Party slush fund. I like that. That's a great sponsor, isn't it?
I think that's...
I like that.
The proper sponsor?
I think they're having a bit of fun with us. It's all about fun when you come racing. Oh, look at Goodridge. Hayden Williams, too, on the back of this one. He's got a couple of corners he might get out at the moment.
Williams has had some good pace.
Hogan now coming up with some back markers here. That's the final lap for him, and he'll come round. And not too far away from taking a checkered flag. And a race 1 win here for Rob Hogan in the number 46 from the front row of the grid. Will take the win, all thanks to White Rhino and Bloke Joinery. Oh, and then we just keep going back through the field. It's going to be Hourigan in second, Finnegan in third, Pring fourth, Tate fifth, Morgan sixth, Goodridge in seventh, Williams in eighth, Melville in ninth, and Sendall waiting to come across and finish out our top 10. Number 34 just getting the lap there right on the final moment. James Brett out of New South Wales, a new name. We've had quite a few join us throughout the series, and we get 20 plus cars, but we've had almost 35 competitors throughout the season join us.
That's cool. Very, very cool. No, entertaining first race. A little bit more sun out over the top of us. That sort of bunched up cloud has just separated a little bit, so the conditions a little bit better. It's still a little bit breezy, but fingers crossed we don't get any of that rainy stuff later on in the afternoon.
Let's have a look at our results now for the Legend Cars Australia. Rob Hogan, Brendan Hourigan. Well, Rob Hogan led fairly dominantly from the start. Brendan Hourigan had to hold out Billy Finnegan for the final couple of moments there in that final lap. Ryan Pring, though, worked his way back through into fourth position and got in front of Shane Tate, and that's super important in the championship, really, for him, because that will extend him out to 28 points. I know it's not a lot, really, when you've got 5 races every round.
And fastest lap of the race. Are there points for that?
Don't think so, no. So that won't matter, but that shows what's going to happen when he comes into race number 2, because at some point, you never know. Sometimes they like to throw a reverse grid at us for the top 10, so we'll wait and see. Let's have a look at some of the highlights, though, of this race number 1 of the Legend Cars Australia. And look, there's going to be a few of them here. The start of the race, this is probably the most sedate start we've had for the season.
Conservative would be the word that I would use. Yeah, we sort of talked about it pre-race, but look, they're going to get through that 1-2 sequence without destroying half the field, which has the potential here with that part of the racetrack. It didn't quite go to plan further back through the field.
That was Nathan Preto involved in that one as well, so that was unfortunate.
So Tate had a good battle then going on there with the 1, but while they were battling together, Hogan was just simply driving away from them.
Yeah, there's a moment here where we saw a bit of an there was smoke coming out of this one of the 27 too, and that was Nathan Locke out of Queensland, unfortunately, and I don't know whether that tyre's rubbing. It looked more mechanical, that amount of smoke. This was on board though with Brendan Hourigan. He made a move on Shane Tate midway through the race. Well, probably in the first third. Managed to get the move done, and Billy Finnegan's behind going, hey, when's my turn? Really, look at the aggression he had coming back into the series after we haven't seen him for a couple of rounds.
Watch this pass. This is like, he picked that about 10 seconds before that. It bounced across the curve off the exit. It got him up into that third position. In the meantime, Pring was chasing them down.
It was very unlucky for Tate not to get a drive around the outside on that time, I didn't think either. And there was a big moment right at the end, the number 10 of Mark Duckworth just locking the brakes up there and spinning the car coming out of turn 3. But it was Rob Hogan there in the 46 will take the race 1 win, coming off pole position. Great start to the weekend for Rob Hogan, so that'll increase his points in the championship and just close that gap up just a little bit to Shane Tate, who's in second. So Rob Hogan still with a big fighting chance when it comes to this. Here at Winton Motor Raceway, round 5 of the Hi-Tec Oils Super Series. It's absolutely fantastic to have everyone. Don't forget to join us after lunch on SBS. Of course, we're back at 1 p.m. Local time for the TA2 Muscle Car Top 10 Shootout. Make sure you join us then.